I'm like, what the fuck is that? I'm like, what the fuck is that? It's just my shirt. I'm just like, why is it just like pointing at my shirt like that? I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, that's so funny. Oh, my hair's like all curly and shit. Well, that tends to happen whenever I like, what's the word I'm looking for? Whenever I condition it, it ends up like that. Yeah, I think my hair's naturally curly. Okay, where we go? This one? Nope, not you. That one. Okay. Hello. Oh my god, I already see people subscribed. Holy shit. Thank you for subscribing. Yay. We can subscribe on Twitch now. Let's go. I don't know how subscription work, but I appreciate it. That's really nice. Thanks, guys. So let's see who subscribed. Katsu BB Map? I've never seen this person. Katsui BB Map? Subscribed with a Prime? Okay, I know everybody else, so Over and Jojo, thanks for the subscription. I have to do that now. That's kind of fun. Thanks for the sub, guys. But yeah, I don't know who Katsui BB Map. I've never seen them before. 14 hours ago. They were the first one. God damn. They were the first one. Okay. Hello, Over. Welcome. Welcome. What are you buying? What are you selling? Maybe he's a lurker from YouTube. Probably. I wouldn't be surprised. I've seen a few people over on this end. Damn, so our sub goal is to at least get 10 subs. We already got 3. That's pretty good. Yeah, if any of you guys got Prime, you can give me a free sub on Twitch. If you have Amazon Prime, you can give me a free sub on Twitch. You should do that. I'd appreciate it. Free money. Plus, it's just sitting there. Anyways, Johan, you see that shit of Sony promoting vinyl records despite wanting to end disc production? I actually did not see that. I did not know anything about this. No, this is I just heard about it right now. I did not hear about this. First 10 people who sub get exclusive badge. Oh. Is that something I gotta do? I didn't know about that. Wait, is that something I gotta do? I didn't know about that. I mean, okay, cool. If it is something I gotta do, it's something I gotta start working on. No, it's a founder badge, only first 10 people. Oh, that's really cool. Okay. Oh, oops. Gonna delete that. You guys can't check that out. I'll remove. Whoopsie. Okay. Let's go to my channel. There we go. Johan Fate. There. I can just. Sorry, I got a slightly different setup, so I was just checking it. It's a founder badge. Very cool. Thank you. I learned something new today. I need some water. Give me a sec. I got it right here. And not gonna lie, I'm gonna need that money. That's for sure. I got bills coming up, and I'm not looking forward to that shit. Got so much stuff to pay for. Fucking hate it. Anyways, so for the chapter itself. Okay, let's get into this shit. So before we go and read Reddit, there's just some stuff I wanted to talk about that I found really interesting. The only reason I caught it was when I was making the thumbnail this morning. So I made them. I was planning to start at like 12, but I felt like kind of tired and overheated, so I just kind of rested for a little bit, and then I made some food and hung out with some family, and then now I'm here. Anyways, while I was making the thumbnail, I found something interesting here. When we turn to Kazuya, he says this will always be super difficult. Now, your immediate thought is, his confession thing, right? Or at least that's what it looks like. except he's physically doing exercise. So it raises an interesting question. Wait, what's actually hard? Wait, what's difficult? Right? And you know, like Kazuya spells it out for you. He tells you like, okay, it's the confession thing. That's the hard part. But this is pretty interesting to do, right? Or sorry, it's a pretty interesting presentation by Reiji. Why? Well, it's because confessing isn't actually hard. At least not to Kazuya. Why do I say this? There's a lot of evidence in the early part of the series, and even in Hawaiians, I would argue, that show it's not actually that hard for him. So what's he talking about? It's simple. It's hard to write out a perfect confession. In fact, it's hard to write out a confession for someone in a way that will perfectly convey exactly what you want to say, because that is like writing. He's being an artist. He's writing. And that's different from love. You know, when you're trying to write, especially when you're trying to write in a way that appeals to everyone, which is very much what Minnie is teaching him, you know? Like when Minnie was talking to him about how he should trim down his essay of a confession. What was interesting about that is that that's dumb, because what she wants him to write is something I used to do. It's something you'll see a lot with content creators, where when you go to them, what they'll tell you is, oh, you got to trim this down, you got to do this, you got to do that. What they're actually telling you is they're telling you how to write something that'll appeal to the most amount of people as possible. And Minnie, being a content creator, is that she's pretty much taking away the emotion from Kazuya's confession and instead making it a confession that's very, well, how do I put it, logical or sounds good, you know? And this makes a lot of sense when you consider that Minnie has been doing that for a long time. For instance, when they're in Joy Polis, she's literally telling him the correct things to do in a date. And these are things many people would associate as though it was an objective way of doing things, because you see it a lot in manga, in dates, in stuff like that. How a date should look, how a date should act, what a date should do. Those things are literally what Minnie is telling Kazuya to seemingly do. The reason this is difficult is because this is ironically not love. What he's doing is ironically not love. That's why it's so difficult. Now, this introduces another factor. It contrasts with him doing, well, a physical exercise. Now, I will point out one thing. Kazuya's form is kind of wrong. At least I think. Like, I'm pretty sure when you do push-ups, your hands are supposed to be like this. Like, his hands are like wide out. I know there's wide push-ups, but all you're doing is just like spreading out your hands like this. It shouldn't be, like, your hands shouldn't be like that. I don't think that's correct. Unless you're trying to do like back push-ups, so it's like these like work your back arms and stuff like that. Like there's a way to, like, if you do push-ups like this, like with your hands face like this, like backwards, it like does stuff for like your, like kind of your shoulders and your back muscles a little bit. But even then, these are a little more difficult. Kazuya's form is very like generic, which I think is very intentional by Reiji. If you think about it, I think it's very intentional by Reiji that Kazuya did not research his form. He's not doing this correctly. He's just working out because the workout is the goal. He's not actually doing it to actually like physically get better at something. He's doing it because he wants to get something out of working out. It's not for working out. So I think whether intentional or not, I think Reiji is conveying that. Also, Kazuya has a tiny ass booty here. His booty's tiny. Anyways, so Kazuya talking about this being really difficult is really interesting because it leans into this idea of Kazuya like struggling with love, right? But that contrasts with him literally sweating his ass off while exercising. So it makes you wonder, is the exercise difficult? When you see Kazuya at later parts in the chapter, he's mostly just thinking and he's doing push-ups no problem, right? Now, granted, His form slightly changes here. I don't know if that's Oh no, it's the same. Oh, it's the same consistently. Actually, it's consistently like this. Oh my god, it's consistently. It's just that one shot right here. It's this one shot of his hand right here that makes me think he actually corrected his form. But nope, nope, it's the same. But yeah, him doing push-ups isn't the hard part. So this is supposed to create this kind of visual illusion. This is supposed to create this visual illusion. Out of context, it looks like what Kazuya is really struggling with is exercising. No, exercising seems pretty easy to him, right? If anything, exercises acts as a form of stress relief in a weird way, which is, sometimes what it is for a lot of people. The hard part is seemingly the writing. But what's interesting about this is that when Kazuya isn't writing, and when he's just looking at a picture of Chizuru, right? It's pretty simple. All he has to say is, I love you. So the question becomes, was that so hard? Was that so hard? Why is it being treated like a big deal? Was that really so hard? And this again raises even more questions. What is going on here? Right? What is going on here? Why Kazuya just said this thing, it wasn't so hard, yet now when Minnie hears him, he suddenly wants to hide it? That's weird. Why does he want to hide it? It's not a big deal. You're just practicing. Aren't people going to hear you when you say it? Are you expecting for it to happen in private where no one can hear you? And even then, don't you want to confess your love for others to hear? Why is he hiding it so much? That's a lot of interesting details like that, where there's a lot of elements at play here that challenge us as the readers to question what is going on without outright pointing it out to us. Reiji isn't like directly telling us, hey, this is the thing, I want you to pay attention to it. No, it's just left in the background. And I think that's intentional by Reiji. He's been doing this for a little bit. It's something I pointed out to you guys in previous chapters, where there's clearly setup going on. There's a lot of setup and build-up going on. The dude is building a goddamn bridge, okay? But you're not going to figure out where this bridge is going or where the other side is until we get there. However, if you like pay attention and like look around you a little bit and like maybe, I'm going to continue with the bridge metaphor here. If you look around you a little bit, or if you look at a map, or you see, or you kind of guesstimate the destination, or like theory craft the destination, then you can kind of get where it's going. So when we figure out little pieces like this, when we kind of put it together a little bit, suddenly some stuff starts making a little more sense. Start kind of understanding where it's going on. And I did want to share something a little interesting. Reiji did like 2 more posts on his Twitter space. I'm not going to tell you what's in them. I'm just going to avoid that. I'm not going to tell you what's in them. I will tell you something interesting, though. He is a lot further than you guys could have ever guessed. He is a lot further than you guys could have ever guessed. He's really far ahead. Like most people in the past would say he's 4 chapters ahead. He's 8 chapters ahead. He's 12 chapters ahead. He is 12 chapters ahead. He's a chapter 445. He's 12 chapters ahead. Like, Jesus Christ. He is really ahead. That man's on a goddamn roll. That man is on a goddamn roll. Yeah, it's more than a volume. A volume is 9. No, dude. A volume is 9. He is over a volume ahead. This dude's got plans. And he talked about this in some of his Twitter spaces, is like he kind of like, he's just on a roll. Like he knows exactly what he wants to do, so he's just pumping them out. Now he did say he was struggling with a few of them. There was one of them that he said he struggled with, and it took him like 4 days to like iron out the chapter and what he wanted to do with it. So there's a chapter coming up at some point that he was somewhat struggling with. I don't know which one, he didn't specify. I don't know which one it was. He didn't really specify. He just said there was a chapter that took him like four days to like iron out, which is kind of uncommon because it takes them like a week to like, do the entire process. So like inking it, drawing it, doing all the backgrounds. But 4 days to like just iron out a chapter is a lot. So there's a chapter he really wanted to capture really well that we're not going to get for a hot minute. Like again, he's 12 chapters ahead. So that would have, I don't know, maybe 440 or something, maybe 443, 444. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, he's pretty far ahead. So I just wanted to share that. I just thought that was an interesting little detail. Little exclusives from me. And maybe to tempt you to actually like go and support him. Granted, I will warn you right off the bat, if you're considering supporting Reiji, he doesn't post very often. Just be warned. He doesn't post very often, nor is he really doing Twitter Spaces anymore. And this happens a lot. As someone who's been following this man for 6 years, I've followed his fan box. I've followed his Twitter Space. He kind of just fluctuates. He does the one thing he's consistent with is the manga. When it comes to like other stuff, in particular, like YouTube is another one of those. So his YouTube, his fan box, and his Twitter Spaces, or just Twitter in general, he tends to kind of just like eventually fizzle out a little bit. Mostly because he doesn't like always doing them. Like it's clear he genuinely loves manga, so he can keep doing manga. But when it comes to like that kind of stuff, it's clear he doesn't really have a big passion for it. So he doesn't really like to do it a lot. Reiji, again, I've said before, Reiji isn't the kind of person who likes to be on the internet too much. He likes to kind of get off a little bit. So he tends to do a lot of things in person. So he has like his 2 different mangas he's working on. He has the teaching position he's doing, which is another reason he's not doing Twitter Spaces. He's been very busy with his teaching position, where he's helping people actually get into the manga industry. So stuff like that. That's why Reiji is like not really doing online stuff. He's just kind of not a big fan of that stuff anyway. So yeah, that's just kind of a big thing I wanted to share really quick. Like that just to warn you, if you do subscribe to Reiji, just be warned, you're not going to get a whole lot. I would argue you might get a little more from his fan box, because at least on his fan box, he releases the Shiunji family chapters a day early. Granted, you do have to read Japanese to know what the fuck is going on, but you do get them like a day or 2 early. So there's that. Like you get early releases of the chapters, and they're super high quality. They're like insanely high quality. Like the fucking thing is like it put like you remember back in the day, for those who don't know, who remembers back in the day when people used to do scans and they would get like these very high quality scans? It puts that shit to shame. It puts that shit to shame. Like it's literally just the image itself pasted on Fanbox, and there's no condensing going on with what do you call it? Like in other in like when you post stuff on Twitter or when you post stuff on YouTube, there's always condensing going on where like it like condenses your image so it's not as high quality. Fanbox doesn't have that issue. So you're just getting the highest of high quality on Fanbox when it comes to like Shiunji family. Granted, I'm subscribed to both. Fanbox is a lot cheaper. Fanbox is like $5, maybe $4. Maybe I think I'm subscribed. No, actually, I'm subscribed to the $10 one. Yeah, I'm subscribed to the $10 one for Fanbox, and then Twitter is like $24, which is Jesus Christ. I drop $30 on Reiji every month. That's me, dude. $30 on Reiji every month. Good God, it's more than a goddamn subscription fee. Anyways, I've outed myself enough. Let's get down to business. To defeat the Huns. Oh my God, that was so bad. Anyways, okay, so Kazuya has this duality going on with working out and his confession, right? So there's the physical task he's doing and the emotional task he is doing. And it's interesting. I think it's really thematically interesting that Minnie only observes the end result. Did you notice that? I think it's really interesting that Minnie only observes the end result. She does not observe any of the physical work he does. Who caught that? Oh, someone did. Yeah, so Minnie doesn't catch any of the emotional, like all the stuff he's thinking about, all the physical work that he's doing, all the memories that he has, none of that. All Minnie catches is this, the very last page where he confesses his feelings. It's almost like Minnie doesn't see all the effort behind everything, despite saying she sees it, right? It's almost like Minnie doesn't actually see all the effort that love takes. She only sees the end result. Which is really interesting because prior, she did see him working out. Or did she? Okay. So chapter 4:10. Right, so chapter 4:10. Something interesting happens. Kazuya is working out and Minnie shows up. Okay. Does Minnie ever see Kazuya actually working out? She saw him like finish, but did Minnie ever see Kazuya working out? In fact, I raise a question to you. Who was looking at who? That's right. It was Kazuya actually looking at Minnie. Everyone else looking at Minnie. Did Minnie ever see how hard Kazuya was actually working? Did she ever clock that? When we get to the next chapter, what happens? Right, what happens? Minnie hears that something happened with Ruka, and she spills it to everyone. Kazuya tells her, but it's kind of inaccurate. So it raises another interesting question. Did Minnie ever really see Kazuya? Did Minnie ever really understand Kazuya? And here's the ramen thing, right? The July 11th being ramen day, probably going to be important. Probably going to be important. Right? Minnie like talked about ramen being important to July 11th. So naturally, when we get to July 11th, it's probably going to be called like ramen. It's going to be related to that somehow. I wouldn't be surprised, but it would also be a little strange considering what is it? Brain work. Considering the time, because it's supposed to be summer. July 11th is like midsummer. So, what happens again? Minnie gives something to Kazuya. Or sorry, Kazuya gives something to Minnie. And something happens. She bonks him over the head with this thing. Kazuya did not see this coming. Because you were not observing Minnie. Just as Minnie was not actually seeing Kazuya. Okay. So you don't see Minnie coming here. You don't expect what she's going to do here. Even though, if you were paying attention to her, this action might have made some sense. And some people perceive it as a good thing. An identical thing happens here. Verbatim, an identical thing happens here, just a little different. You don't see Minnie coming, because just as Kazuya doesn't see Minnie coming. He's so focused on confessing to Chizuru, he never even noticed Minnie walking into his house. This acts as a direct parallel to the girl at the very beginning of this chapter, who we never see coming. We did not expect Ruka to do what she did in the past, nor do we know what Ruka is doing now. Okay? So Kazuya, being so focused on chasing his love, doesn't see his surroundings. Doesn't see Minnie coming, just as he doesn't see Ruka coming. Something is going to happen. Okay. And the fact that Minnie just casually walked into his house, again, another big thing. But that's the interesting part. Kazuya is looking at Chizuru. Minnie is looking at Kazuya. But does Minnie actually see Kazuya? Or is she merely looking at her fantasy? It all clicks together. It all clicks together. Again, with this theme of duality, where Minnie is here observing this thing. Minnie is here hearing this. Minnie is here reacting to this. But is Minnie really seeing this? So just as Kazuya did not see Minnie coming whatsoever, Minnie, in this instance, doesn't actually see any of Kazuya's hard work. She doesn't see anything about this. And here's another thing. There's another influence on Minnie here that you did not consider. Minnie is the one who suggested that Kazuya trim this down. I tried my best to make it less wordy, just like Yamori-san suggested. And who hears his confession in the end? Minnie. Minnie's appearance was not only foreshadowed, it informs everything Kazuya is doing. She's the one who told him to trim it down, and she is the one who is now satisfied with what he had to say. Are these even Kazuya's words? Or are they Minnie's words? Why do you think Minnie literally parallels Kazuya here? Right? Why do you think Minnie is literally acting as a parallel between Kazuya here and Chizuru is in between them? There's only one person here who's not real, and it's Chizuru. Minnie is real, Kazuya is real. The joke lands perfectly. But there is a visual storytelling going on here. Right? Chizuru is the only thing between Minnie and Kazuya. And then Chizuru disappears. And it's just Minnie and Kazuya. And Kazuya talks about, wait for me, I'm coming, Mizuhara. The confession Kazuya wrote is for Minnie, not for Chizuru. He doesn't even say Chizuru's name, he says Mizuhara. Minnie only wants to see the end, not the process. Exactly. Love takes a lot of work. Minnie doesn't see any of that. Right? And the irony is, neither does Chizuru. There's a bit of irony here. Neither does Chizuru. Right? Chizuru doesn't see any of the work either. She's not here. So how could she possibly see it? Question. Was this also a callback to the post-cheer update chapter? Explain. What do you mean, Black Lance? Explain. Like the chapter where Kazuya is in the shower thinking after the cheer update? I mean, I guess we can look at it. Nothing's stopping us. So that would be 165. Give me a sec. Sorry, just doing some adjusting so this doesn't become a recurring issue. Oh, and to be fair, this chapter has a good example of something I did want to talk about. So this works. Chapter indeed has an example of something I did want to talk about. Okay, so from the top, let's mosey. Okay. In the shower. I wonder if this is censored in the volume. I hope it is. That'd be funny. Okay, he's in the shower. He overheats. 44 degrees Celsius, a truly fatal temperature. Haha. Haha, who gets the joke? Who gets the joke? Motherfucker, who gets the joke? Two deaths. 4 and 4. God damn it, Reishi. That temperature, death is a foregone conclusion. Fucking hell, my God. He doubled down. He doubled down. I cannot believe this man. He fucking doubled down. 44 degrees Celsius, a truly fatal temperature. At that temperature, death is a foregone conclusion. Stop. Stop. Motherfucker. Stop. I didn't realize Reishi had puns in him. Oh my God. Ugh, yesterday, I just can't get it out of my head. This is such a big deal. Not even a hot path could drive the image away. Ooh, okay. I kind of see some similarities. It's like an inverse. It's like the opposite. It's like literally the opposite. Crying for half an hour. I can't read her at all. What the hell? I can't read her at all. Does that parallel Ruka not knowing how to read Umi? I mean, Ruka is confused about him, but she doesn't say that. This also means she is differently holding on to a lot of stuff, right? She's been putting on a brave face, but maybe this is a step forward for her. Well, one thing's clear to me at least. I really do love Mizuhara. The ghost of sound prevention. This is why people don't like you. He's like literally calling himself out. That's so funny. It's clear to me now Mizuhara is not superhuman or made of iron. She's just a girl with her own issues and she hides it all behind a brave face. Even now, she's probably over there in so much pain. What's this feeling? It's burst out of my chest or my shirt. It's not enough love to describe it. I adore her. Okay, so mini busts in. Yet again, another parallel. Okay, I can see it. I can see it. What are you doing here? The door was open. What? No way. How did you get inside? Why are you sitting in the same pose? Going with the flow. I even rang the bell. How long have you been there? Just since you started sitting like that, but that was the most embarrassing part. I'm such a bonehead. I was so torn up over this, I didn't even hear the intercom. But there's a difference. Here, Kazuya didn't lock the door. Here, Kazuya did not lock the door. Minnie just walked in. She even rang the doorbell. Apparently. Right? Do we hear it at any point? No, we never hear it. Yeah, we never hear the doorbell ring. But in the current chapter, he did lock the door, and she got in anyway. She didn't hear a word Kazuya said. That's also different. She did not hear Kazuya's confession. He said it internally. And he said it here pretty easily. But now it's completely different. I also find it fascinating that Kazuya is mostly in light. This is the one time he's in shadow. I really do love Mizuhara. And this is a really interesting shot. It's like there's something behind him he didn't see coming. It's like when someone sneaks up on you and you're about to fucking die. It's like the feeling literally snuck up on him. But at the same time, why is he in shadow? We end up finding out that he's incorrect about this, that she's actually not in pain, that she's doing better because of him. This feeling that's bursting out of my chest. Isn't this literally his confession? Okay. Minnie didn't hear a word he said here. Back then, now she hears his words. So what ended up happening with Mizuhara-san? I haven't been able to sleep at night thinking about it. What'd you eat? He can't tell her about this thing. Makes you wonder if he'll tell her about something now. So, did you cheer her up? Oh, maybe she seemed like she enjoyed the date. That's major progress. You probably scored mad renown points. Or pendants. A perfect picture. Time for a commemorative photo. You're on the assertive boyfriend route. She takes a picture of it. And yet again, she only saw the end result and none of the hard work. It's the same thing. She only saw the end result and none of the agonizing, none of the hard work. She literally only saw a perfect picture. Did I even help her, though? In the end, I have no idea. You know, okay, so Kazi is worried about helping Chizuru. He's in the dark. He has no idea. Minnie suggests he should ask her out on a date, and it completely misses the point. To us, it's exciting because we're like, yeah, let's go ask her on a date. But it's missing the point. What's the QR code on Minnie? Oh, it went to, at the time it went to like volume 5 or something on Amazon or some shit like that. It took you to the books. Yeah, it just took you straight to the books. It was literally advertisement in the manga. It was literally advertisement in the manga. Feel free to test it. Like, here, I'll zoom in and I'll just like move my face. Feel free to test it. God, it's literally just the QR code. It's so funny. Okay. So she tells Kazuya to ask Chizuru out on a date. Look, in the end, I'm just a client and she's just a rental. I'm only in a position to pay her to date me. And didn't you say it was the right call? Sure, if you want to maintain the status quo, got to take the next step. Your relationship is way beyond the terms and conditions already. Anybody can see that. Unless a guy is being super pushy about inviting you, no girl's going to be creeped out over someone asking them to dinner. What she described is literally just Umi. He was being really pushy about it. Right? He's being really pushy about it. And she's surrounded by stars, like she only sees stars. Interesting. And then right after this, so what chapter is this? 165. Chizuru asks him out on a date. That's the funny part. Minnie is correct. That's the funny part. Minnie is correct because Chizuru asks him out on a date. Literally right after this. Okay. And then right after their date, Umi shows up. Almost like a little nod to this because Umi's the guy who's being super pushy. I'm telling you, Master, there's no way your stock didn't shoot up after this. There's the perfect chance to get a feel for what she thinks of you. Strike while the iron is hot. That's literally what Chizuru does. That's literally what Chizuru does, right? Chizuru's actions are literally being informed by Minnie, and I think that's fucking hilarious. That's fucking hilarious. That you can understand the chapters that come right after this simply by just listening to Minnie because Minnie thinks the same exact thing as Chizuru, right? Literally, like, you just go to the next chapters and, like, see what Chizuru does. She's literally, like, checking how Kazuya feels about her. But after what happened, if I suddenly tried getting personal with her, she'd probably think I was taking advantage of her. Advantage, right? Yamori-san doesn't have any idea. And again, that informs Chizuru's actions. She probably thought she was taking advantage of asking Kazuya out right after. So that's why she brings the money. Just to be like, see, I'm not taking advantage of you. I'm paying you back. It's right there. That's so cool. How did I never see this? How did I never see this? That's so cool. It was all in the text. That's so fucking cool. Why not? What's the problem? You're the one who's flirting with a perilous romance. Stop struggling. It's really funny she says that. Because that's Chizuru. From Chizuru's perspective, it's a perilous romance. Don't call it perilous. I'm right, though. You gotta get motivated. Give me your phone. I'm gonna go get lunch. He runs out. So helpless, my hero. Again, he's her hero, and suddenly, after Minnie's advice, Kazuya is undergoing a hero's journey. Suddenly, after Minnie's advice, Kazuya is undergoing a hero's journey. Again, I keep telling you, the hero's journey, like, route that's, like, very on the mark, very on the dot, is not coincidental. It is not coincidental. The Kazuya is currently listening to Minnie, and he's quite literally undergoing the hero's journey in the perfect circle. With, like, each step verbatim. Something's off about him. Did something happen? Something he didn't tell me. Something like Chizuru shows up, she's in the shadows, she never learns. Is there such a thing as a villain? Like in the story? Like in the story? If so, like, if I had to be honest, Ruka is a villain, Mami is a villain, and Minnie, without meaning to, is a villain. Now, I'm not saying they're evil. Just to point that out, I'm not saying they're evil. They're just absolutely the antagonists. They're just absolutely the antagonists. The thing is, Mami is no longer in the antagonist position. She kind of is. In particular, Ruka is in the antagonist position, and Minnie, who was support for pretty much this entire manga, and from our perspective, is now also in the antagonist position. So literally, your support is becoming your antagonist. I would say Kazuya's family is also kind of some of the antagonist now. And I would say the biggest antagonist is the environment, and the environment that shapes us. I would say that's the most accurate antagonist so far. It's like the environment that shapes us. So basically, like, Kazuya's family and how they acted ultimately formed him into a kind of villain. So Kazuya is somewhat the villain. Yeah, Kazuya is somewhat the villain right now. Like, currently in the manga. I would say there's no consistent villain, if that's what you're looking for. What I mean is, there's such a thing as a villain's journey. Well, every villain is their own hero, so a villain probably undergoes a hero's journey too. Just flipped. I can look at it, but I don't think so. I've never heard of a villain's journey. A villain's journey. Oh. I guess there is one. Okay. A villain's journey. Ordinary world, call to adventure, refusal of the call, meeting the mentor, crossing the threshold, test of allies, approach, ordeal, death and rebirth, reward, seize the sword, road back, resurrection, return of the elixir. That's just the hero's journey. Wait, yeah, it just says hero's journey. Okay, never mind. So it's just the hero's journey. What's this? The hero is in his natural environment. Call to action, refusal of the call, meeting the mentor, crossing the threshold, trial and first failure, meeting allies and enemies, growth, new skill, first success, grand trial, revelation and insight, discarding old self. Wait, this is a little different. Discarding old self, accepting the new role, the road back, stepping up to the final challenge, success, restoring order, taking a new place in the old world. Huh. Wait, this is slightly different. Discarding old self. Accepting the new role. The road back. Stepping up to the final challenge. Success. And this is and if we follow this one, it literally proves what I've been saying the whole time. But can a villain be a hero? Every villain is their own hero. A villain, of course, a villain can be a hero because they view their actions as heroic. You can if you mean can the villain be the protagonist? Absolutely. If you mean can the villain be the protagonist? Fucking absolutely. But like, what do you mean? How can the villain be the hero? Like, could you elaborate? Like, what specifically you're trying to ask me? But yeah, based on this, right? This is literally what I was talking about. I keep telling you guys, I think Kazuya is actually going to succeed. Like, based on this, and again, this is a new one. I think villain does good things. Absolutely, can a villain do good things? Why would the villain only do bad things? That'd be a shitty villain. Absolutely, can a villain do good things? A villain can absolutely do heroic things. Here's a great example, Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom in Marvel Comics is absolutely a villain. Straight up, he's a terrible fucking person. He can do heroic things. He can absolutely do heroic things. The country he rules, it's this like fake country called Latveria. Everyone likes him. Everyone fucking likes him. And not because they're brainwashed, but because he actually like provides things. You know what his motivation is? He goes to the future and he sees like a bunch of alternate realities. He sees a bunch of futures and all of them suck because he's not ruling. So he's like, I need to take over the world so I can rule because everything will be better if I'm in charge. So his entire thing is everyone is equal beneath Doom. I'm like, damn, okay. Chill, bro. Chill, bro. That's why if you listen to his Marvel theme in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, it literally sounds heroic. His Marvel vs. Capcom 3 song, here, I'll pull it up. It's a little repetitive, mind you, but it literally sounds heroic. And it's because he literally perceives himself as the hero. Doom theme Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So eventually the villain can change into the good guy. Well, yes, any villain could theoretically change into the good guy. That's not the hero's journey, if that's what you're talking about. Like, there's no role set in stone. Please understand. That's not what I'm saying. You're asking questions that would be prevalent to Mommy's character. You're asking questions that would be prevalent to Mommy's character. Mommy could theoretically become a hero character, if that's what you mean. Kazuya could theoretically become a hero character. But oftentimes in these kinds of stories, the way the villain can become the hero is by accepting they are the villain. Not always. Sometimes a villain accepts they're the villain and they're cool with it. They're like, yep, I'm cool with it. That's fine. But if a villain wants to be a hero and actually wants to do good, they must first accept that they are the villain. Sometimes it can be the reverse for a hero too. So for Kazuya's case, his particular case, is that he's trying so hard to be the hero, he doesn't realize he's the villain. So he has to see that. He must recognize he's the villain. Once he recognizes he's the villain, he won't be able to cope. So I think what Reiji is doing, which is really cool, in my opinion, I think on one hand, I'll play Dr. Doom's theme in the background while... Yeah. Okay, so I think what Reiji's doing, in my opinion, I could be wrong, and the reason I think he's doing this is because of because I recently played Expedition 33. Why do I mention this? So I'm not going to spoil Expedition 33, but Expedition 33 has essentially two heroes' journeys at the same time. They're both broken, but they're also both working antithetical to each other. So there's a normal hero's journey that just rotates like this. I think there's also a second hero's journey that's literally kind of going like this. It's flowing in the opposite direction. And I think that's low-key what Reiji is doing. Where there's literally kind of like two heroes' journeys flowing in reverse. And eventually they're going to slam into each other. And when they do, it's going to shatter. Why do I say this? Well, here's what I mean. The heroes in his natural environment, call to action, Kazuya leaving the house, refusal of the call, right? Kazuya doesn't want to go back. Meeting the mentor, Minnie shows up, crossing the threshold, right? Kazuya changes his look and stuff. Trial and first failure, okay? Kazuya working on his like driving's license and fucking up and all that stuff. Meeting allies and enemies, okay? He meets Umi. Yeah, he meets, or sorry, maybe this is like, sorry. He meeting allies and enemies, he meets Umi, he meets Ruka, blah, blah, blah. Growth and new skill. Kazuya is literally getting new skills and shit. First success. That's like when Kazuya starts kind of like moving forward a little bit, but he's kind of struggling. Grand trial, revelation, and insight. Kazuya literally finds out his feelings for Shizuru. Discarding the old self. Kazuya is literally changing and becoming a different person as we see him right now in the manga. Accepting the new role. I don't know if we're there yet. Now let's play it in reverse. Taking new places in the old world. Okay? Kazuya literally is. He's literally in the old world that he used to live in the past, but he's literally in a new place. Restoring order. Everything is back as it should be, just in a new place. Stepping up to the final challenge, success. Isn't Kazuya literally stepping up to his final challenge to confess to Chizuru? The road back. He's literally going back to where he used to be. Accepting the new role. Right? He's starting to be okay with how he is. Discarding the old self. He literally tossed away who he was and became a new person. Revelation and insight. The same exact one. First success. Do you see how it's the same thing, but playing backwards? It's almost like he's literally reverting as a hero while looking like he's transforming as a hero. Do you see what I mean? There's literally two heroes' journeys coexisting at the same time, but one is going in the opposite direction. And I think at some point they're going to crash. And we're going to realize we've been going backwards this whole fucking time. We've literally been going in a circle, but in the reverse. Okay. I hope that made sense. I kind of always felt this, like, ever since, like, I kind of understood what Expedition 33 was doing with the hero's journey. I'm just like, oh, I see. It kind of clicks. Yeah. You are a bad guy, but that does not mean you are bad guy, Zangief. Would you guys believe me if I said Zangief was one of my first mains in Street Fighter? I used to be a Zangief main, bro. I would fucking throw people. Okay, let's get into Reddit. Alright. God, it's hot. This fucking heat wave sucks. And my air conditioning in my house is kind of a mess. Because the upper floor isn't... Like, the upper floor gets hot a lot, but the lower floor is always cold. So whenever I turn on the cooling, it's like, it's too cold downstairs for my mom, but it's not cold enough for me. It's fucking annoying. Okay. Reiji and his foreshadowing. Heck, I might call this whole thing the foreshadow arc. I mean, kind of. I've kind of called this thing the build-up arc. Because I would say the foreshadow arc is like low-key the Kohab and Odaiba and the practice date. All of that was kind of the foreshadow arc. And I think Reiji's been foreshadowing like since Hawaiians. Like, this man has been slowly cooking for years. Interesting he's in shadows in that chapter. Wow, crazy. It makes so much sense why he's in shadow too. One of the best ways to make your villain effective is to make them do things you agree with. So that creates conflict and tension with the audience. Yes, exactly. Why do you think people fucking vibed with Thanos? Even though, like, what he was saying was literally wrong. Like factually, Thanos is incorrect. He is right that, like, resources are dwindling and stuff, but his solution is fucking genocide. His actual solution is just genocide. It's just a temporary solution that only causes pain and suffering. It's fucking stupid. And I think the reason they changed it that way is because in the original comics, Thanos' whole thing is literally like, I love death, like actually the goddess of fucking death. So I'm gonna pay her a tribute by literally massacring half the universe. That's why he does that. That's why he fucking does that. Because he's in love with death and he wanted to show a tribute, and she's just like, nah, you a basic bitch. And she wasn't into him. So he tried to take control of the universe and shit like that. I would say the comic did it a little better in my opinion, because there's like this, like, the conflict literally becomes, how the fuck do we get the gauntlet from him? Like, he's literally like this god with a gauntlet that can just change reality, and it doesn't hurt him or anything. He's just OP. So they're just like, how the fuck do we get this gauntlet from him? Like, I was reading those comics. They were trippy as balls. And they call Kazuya a simp, right? And they called Kazuya a simp. Thanos is the biggest simp. Thanos is the OG simp. He's the Omega simp. So Thanos worships the Grim Reaper? No, no, no. The Grim Reaper is just the dude who takes souls. The Grim Reaper is just the motherfucker who takes souls. The goddess of death, she is literally the embodiment of death. She is literally the embodiment of all death in the universe. Like, just death. But there is an order to death. She didn't just want everyone to fucking die. Which was fucking stupid. So she's like, you're stupid, you don't get me. You don't fucking get me, bitch. You know who death actually loves? And Thanos fucking hates it. She loves Deadpool. She loves Deadpool. Because motherfucker can't die. Because the motherfucker can't die. So the devil is not the embodiment of death. What? The devil isn't the embodiment of death. That's not what the devil is. No, like, literally, she embodies the concept of death. Anyways, no, yeah, she likes Deadpool. It's so funny. It's fucking hilarious. She's literally into Deadpool. And they flirt. And they give Thanos so much shit. Thanos fucking hates Deadpool. So much. It's so funny. Okay. Friday absolutely sucked. My therapy appointment got double booked. And then they told me they could get me up at 6. And then 6, they said, sorry, you can get till 7. It was awful. Yeah, I fucking hate when they do that shit to me, man. Lately, they've been charging me, like, a lot for my visits. It's kind of annoying. I don't know what's going on. Like, I have insurance and everything, but my visits are still getting charged like $100 or some shit. And I'm like, I literally just visited my doctor. What the hell? And they're like, yep, you owe me $100. What the fuck? Which, by the way, my doctor fucked up. Because I have an inhaler. And it needs a refill. And they're like, yeah, I'll put it in for you. And then I go to my fucking pharmacist. And they're like, oh, they didn't put it in. I'm like, so I can't get a refill for my inhaler? They're like, nope. Fuck you. Granted, I don't need my inhaler very often. I'm fine. Like, my inhaler, like, I only need it, like, sometimes when there's, like, way too much dust. Like, even normal dust I can handle fine. It's just, like, when there's, like, when I'm dusting, I need to wear a mask. Because if I don't, like, it might trigger it. Smoking used to. I don't smoke. But, like, when I'm near someone who smokes, it used to trigger it. I don't know what else triggers it. But yeah, I haven't had an issue for a bit, so I'm not like too worried about it. But yeah, it was kind of annoying that like, you know, I spent $100 to get nothing. Like, bro, could you not? Okay, so we read Varicus, right? Yeah, we read Varicus, right? Oh yeah, for those who are curious, this is Spider-Man's theme. From Marvel vs. Capcom. Okay, Jojo, let's do this shit. Alright, Jojo, let's do this shit. Oh yeah, did I ever read what you guys talked about on, like, on Discord? Did I ever read that? If not, and you don't think it's very important, give me a TLDR, Jojo. If you don't think it's very important, and you don't care about me reading it, then just give me a TLDR. Let me fix this. All right. Has anyone else been watching the anime Jakar this season? Huh. Actually, no, I have not. I haven't been watching any anime this season, I'll be honest. Oh, just open the image. Lame. Wait, what? The villain's journey. The hero's journey, crossing the threshold. The villain's journey. So now that we're familiar with the hero, let's look at the villain. The villain will often follow a similar path, but with a few minor changes. Here, let's play Magneto's theme. Let's play Magneto's theme, since they showed Magneto right here. Since they showed Magneto here, let's play Magneto's theme. The villain will often follow a similar path, but with a few minor changes. In many modern stories, even the line between villain and hero is often a bit fuzzy. You can look to villains such as Magneto in the X-Men. Magneto believes everything he does is for good of the mutant kind and seeks to stop Holocaust from befalling mutants as it happened to his Jewish family during World War II. So here's the journey as a villain. Which, by the way, Magneto fucking hates Israel in the comics. Ordinary world. The villain starts in the ordinary world, the status quo. Perhaps they are working on an experiment that goes wrong, or they are a combat operative for a secret organization that abandons them across enemy lines. Perhaps their loved one was killed, or they lost a fight to their internal demons. Okay. Okay, I kind of see it. Kazuya got rejected. Right, Kazuya got rejected. They must avenge their loved one or fight the people that once called friends and left them behind. Or their sense of reality is so twisted that they believe fighting good is the true good. Call to adventure. Yeah, that's kind of coming on with Kazuya. Kazuya would rather keep chasing Chizuru than actually, like, exist normally. Many times, and he's not chasing love naturally, he's chasing love in all the wrong ways. Many times villains will hesitate at first. Maybe they'll be asked to kill someone, but they can't bring themselves to, or they try to rationalize the injustice shown to them. Yeah, Kazuya definitely does that. Meeting with the mentor. This can manifest in a variety of ways. They meet with a mentor, such as a more knowledgeable villain or soldier, or get some other form of assistance. A book that discovered there teaches them to create the ultimate weapon, knowledge of secret base operated by the country that forsake them. They gain knowledge to help them on their path. Yeah, Minnie kind of does that. Okay, crossing the threshold. They cross into the world of the villain. They kill someone, rob a bank. They begin planning and recruiting for their ultimate plan. There's no turning back for them now. They have officially become the villain. Kazuya when he changes his hair. Okay. I think refusal of the call was definitely literally when Kazuya refused to call Chizuru. Refusal of the call is literally when Kazuya refused to call Chizuru. And they were hesitating. And then once he got the call from Chizuru, then the plan was set in motion and there was no turning back. And then once he changes, that was it. Test allies and enemies. They are tested. They failed perhaps again and again. They are looking for their treasure. Perhaps it is tracking down the hero. Finding secret government files or hunting down all the people they them wrong. We've all seen in particular children's literature. Batman catches the Joker time after time, and Harry Potter beats Voldemort time and time again. Okay. In this case, meeting Umi, meeting Ruka, meeting Mommy. The characters are like getting established. That happens right after the first threshold too. Approach. When they reach their biggest challenge, this may be the final battle between armies, the launch of a weapon, the confrontation with their target. They have reached the moment they have been preparing for. This is the final test against the hero. I guess this is when Kazuya's love for Chizuru is getting tested. Okay. The ordeal, death, rebirth. This is where the hero succeeds, perhaps facing death and is reborn, but for the villain, this is where they fail. The hero wins the last battle and the villain fails for the last time. The villain is thrown in jail, destroyed, killed, ceased to exist, or perhaps they become good, but whatever happens, they are done being the villain in a traditional narrative. Huh. Wait. Huh. Wait, what? The villain doesn't get to experience step 9 through 12. There's no reward or return. Nothing is shown for the villain's troubles. Perhaps they desperately try to chase the hero down one last time, but in the end, the journey is over for them. There is no return, no history look back on that event. The villain lost. They are seen as a bad guy. But like the saying goes, history is written by the victor, so perhaps if they had won, they'd be the heroes, perhaps to someone? What if the villain is actually a competing hero, but instead of success, they failed their journey? Villains as heroes. Oh my god, no. We're not playing Virgil's theme. We are not playing Virgil's theme, bro. We'll play Green Goblin's theme. It's really fucking weird. Green Goblin's theme is so goofy. Huh. But Kazuya's journey keeps going. Granted, this is someone's interpretation. Perhaps it's all about perspective. We choose to see the good in the lesser evil. Perhaps all villains are heroes and all heroes are villains. In this age, the line between villain and hero is constantly being blurred. Characters flip sides and the morality is never certain. Who's to say the villain isn't just a failed hero? Interesting. Oh yeah, we were looking at that anime. I got distracted. Oops. Oh, this thing. I saw clips of this. It freaked me out. Huh. It takes place in a desert. Has the Middle Eastern feeling. They're wearing hijabs. Interesting. A witch life in Mongol. Wait, they live in Mongol? Yeah, I could have... Was it the Mongols who invaded... Iraq at one point? I don't remember. Invasion, Iraq. Siege of Baghdad. Okay, so it was real. Siege of Baghdad. The Siege of Baghdad, also known as the Saga of Baghdad, took place in early 1258. A large army can... Yeah, my mom was telling me about this. Yeah, the biggest thing they did was, like, burn the libraries, so a lot of history was lost. Yeah, okay. Okay, cool. I wasn't crazy. Okay, where were we? Other than the iconic Science Suru animation... Wait, they're done by Science Suru? But aren't they also doing, No. Oh my god, it is. Science Suru is not only doing this, but they're doing Ghost in the Shell. That's insane. That studio blew the fuck up. That studio did what did it called? Mappa wanted to do. That studio did what Mappa wanted to do. Mappa tried to fucking speedrun getting popular. And like they are popular, but the cost of most animators not wanting to work for Mappa. Like a lot of animators do not want to work for Mappa now. Right, so they are popular, yes. Like, in the media zeitgeist, Mappa is a big deal. But people do not fucking want to work with them. They fucking hate them. I think that's one of the reasons like, what do you call it, failed. One Punch Man season 3. Wasn't that being done by Mappa? It fucking sucked. Everyone hated it. Science Suru on the other hand, no, they like straight up just actually did what Mappa wanted to do but better by just literally letting animators work, cook, and then just paying them for it. It was Studio Dean? I thought Mappa got it. Didn't Mappa get the rights to One Punch Man Season 3? What the fuck happened with that? What? I guess they were so fucking bad they gave it to someone else. Anyways, other than the iconic Sonic animation, it's really fascinating for several reasons. At the heart is a book, a real life book called Elements by Yusilid. It's a simple book of obvious things you see. But from piecing each obvious thing together, a person from the house can tell you the circumference of the earth. So too will we piece together a string of obvious things to estimate when the great wave will fall, and how we will know when it's of its arrival. Of course, by the time we know, it will be far, far too late. Hi, Stranger Things. Hi, Stranger Things. That's literally Stranger Things. In Stranger Things, like literally the opening, Season 3 was done by JC Staff. I just got told it was done by Studio Dean. What the fuck? Okay. One Punch Man Season 3. Look, I didn't watch it. I don't care about One Punch Man anymore. I don't even read the comics. To me, One Punch Man kind of really fell off, personally. Like, you feel free to disagree. Not just because of this. I was reading the manga. And the manga, to me, personally for One Punch Man, fell into the trap I have seen. What's the artist's name again? What's the artist who does the manga for One Punch Man again? Is it Murata? Is it Murata? Original Network TV Tokyo. Where does it say? Webcomic, blah, blah, blah. Murata Yusuke. Yeah, so a pattern I've seen with Murata's works. I've read two. I've read I Shield 21, and I've read One Punch Man. A pattern you'll see with both of them. For me, start out great. Great concept, great execution, pretty fun, kind of down for it. As it progresses, it will slowly and consistently, and it's the same fucking thing. It's so weird. It's the same fucking thing. It will slowly devolve into basic shonen slop. And it's worse because from what I understand from the people who read the manga for One Punch Man, it's like completely different. Now, maybe one is involved in the creation of it, but it's like completely different. The biggest thing about Murata is that he has like great art. His art is amazing. His visual presentation is great. I just kind of don't care for his work on a narrative and emotional stance. I just don't get attached to his work. I feel it's very, like, to me personally, it feels very surface level. To me, it feels very surface level. I kind of just don't care. I'm not caught up to One Piece. You just spoiled me. My friend, you just spoiled me. I'm not caught up to One Piece. I haven't even read the end of Blue Lock. Or Blue Box. Not Blue Lock, Blue Box. Too late. I already read it. If it helps, I already kind of heard that somewhere else. If it helps, I already kind of heard that on Twitter somewhere. I didn't like read it, but I feel like I've heard that somewhere else. But I might have just deleted it from my mind. Anyways, yeah, shit, what were we talking about? Mappa sucking. Mappa sucks. I just fucking hate Mappa in general because all their shit is crunch. It's fine. Don't worry. I'm not that pissed about it. I'm not that invested in One Piece. You wanted to check the studio? I kind of don't care anymore because I couldn't find it and I'm not that invested. The whole point I was trying to make is that Mappa sucks. Plus, Mappa was supposed to have the rights to One Punch Man Season 3, and they didn't, which means they already have poor planning. Just saying. Okay. Okay, blah, 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 blah. So two of the pieces string together to obvious... Oh, yeah, I was also referencing... So he was saying, like, from that book, you can piece together when we'll know when the big wave is coming. Life is Strange does something really similar. You start the story by seeing this big fucking tornado. This big tornado coming to where you live. And you get this vision again later by the end of the first episode or the first chapter. And you literally get told exactly when it's coming. Like, you get a date. You get an exact date of when it's coming. And you can't avoid it. There's nothing you can do. There is something you can do. But I'm not gonna spoil. I'm just saying, like, yes, he's correct. I think July 11th is, like, basically we're getting told when that's happening, but maybe we don't know the exact details. Anyways. Yeah, when you'll find out, it'll be far, far too late. Life is Strange is a more supernatural version of Final Destination. Hard disagree. Hard disagree. Life is Strange is very much a coming-of-age story that deals with consequences of your actions. Like, not consequences of your actions, it's about making choices. To me, Life is Strange as a story is about growing up. You basically get to practice making choices throughout the entire game. And then at the very end, you are presented with two choices that you cannot take back. And you must live with them, regardless of what you pick. That, to me, is the point of Life is Strange. It is a story about choices. The consequences of your choices. And throughout the game, you get to seemingly practice. Because you can take back any choice. There's only a few choices in the game you can't really take back. But for most of the game, you kind of get to practice. You can just rewind time and be like, nope. Whereas the final choice mirrors a huge theme of the story, which is death. I'd say the story has a lot of themes. I would say the story has a lot more themes, and it's far more interesting than Final Destination. Plus, isn't Final Destination itself just supernatural? Like, I would say the supernatural element of Life is Strange isn't actually what makes it so special. At least the first game. In particular, it's because the strange element comes from your choices and what you choose to do, and you exploring this world. It's literally about life being weird. Anyways, on the left, on any list. Okay. Producers, studio, JC staff. Okay. But like the thing is when it was announced, when it was announced as Mappa. When season 3 of One Punch Man was announced, they said it was Mappa. That was literally huge news. I remember because I was really pissed about it. Because I fucking hate Mappa. So when I heard it was Mappa, I was just genuinely pissed. So JC staff getting it wasn't always the plan. Send something on Discord. Did you read it? Because I just joined the stream. I'll read it in a bit. No, I haven't read it. I'm reading JoJo right now. Okay. Okay, what even is the wave? I like math, so I'll start from describing maybe Euclid would have. Fundamentally, it is two parts. The amplitude and the wavelength. The amplitude is how much distance along the vertical axis there is from the crest of the wave to the horizontal axis, and being equal to the distance between the tuff and the axis as well. You like math? I fucking hate math. Math was like my worst subject. Math was like my worst subject. As a person with ADHD and a hint of autism, I fucking hate math. The wavelength is the length from the crest to the throw along the horizontal axis. From these two parts, you can derive its frequency and period. You can keep going further by calculating the wave number or angular frequency or wave speed or harmonic or perhaps the blah 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 blah. You can la 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 la. Wow, you are really getting into this. All obvious things so far, no. My words reach you because the wave of information travels a wire, which is where the decode. Okay, haha, haha. I'm so fucking confused. Anyways, what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought being confused. I was gonna say something interesting. Brain work. Oh, I remember. I think it being called a big wave is really interesting because Japan literally suffers from earthquakes and tsunamis. So I think thematically this is kind of interesting in that like there's going to be a wave that's going to kind of destroy a lot and it's going to be the last big wave. It being called a wave is really interesting too because a lot of Hawaiians takes place in an indoor pool. And that literally reflects how it's not reality. It's a lot of it is like fiction. You're literally living through fiction. So it being a wave is thematically fitting for that regard because Kazi is literally going to the sea, if you will. And he needs to live with the wave that is going to come. So I think that's a big thing that's going on right now. Wasn't it Trigger that was one to animate season 3, but Bandai decided to change it? No, it was Mappa. It was not Trigger. I know because I would have been happy if it was Trigger. I like Trigger. But at the time, Trigger was working on Cyberpunk. Or they had just finished Cyberpunk. Meaning they wouldn't be planning on it. I'm like 90%. Here, let's just pull it up. Where is it? Was Mappa going to animate One Punch Man season 3? Trying to see where it says. Wait, it was just a rumor? Mappa was never officially confirmed to the animation studio of One Punch Man Season 3. Huh. Well, I guess I was stupid then and listened to Twitter. Never mind. I still hate Mappa, mind you. But now I have one less reason to. And I can admit when I'm wrong. I have one less reason to hate Mappa, but I still hate Mappa. I just can't use One Punch Man as my reasoning for hating Mappa now. Okay, where were we? Okay, you talked about a bunch of stuff I did not fucking understand. A wave is also continuous as it continues on and on. There's also a mathematical definition of continuity. But I'll spare you the details and just say that, yes, a wave satisfies the definition of continuity as well. So a wave can also move. We experience that very thing all the time through sound we hear and the less we see, or the sensation of feeling as it traverses the nerves and enters our brain. While we don't really experience it like that, the brain creates an approximation that we can call the sensation of feeling. We let ourselves be satisfied with the illusion that our brain creates to live like normal, not to be bogged down with the minute whatever of our constant simulated experience. To live is to embrace these waves as real. Since chapter 426, we've been told the giant wave is starting to rise. Tidal waves are caused by large seismic events that cause the water in deeper waters to shake. The amount of water that's being moved by the seismic event is incredibly massive and thus contains a huge amount of energy. We might think that certainly the energy will dissipate at some point, but water is such a great medium of the wave that nearly all of the energy is conserved as it travels to the shore. To give you a sense of scale, let's start blah blah blah. Okay, I don't need all that. I'm sorry. Still, also utterly obvious. Why are you talking like you're so smart? Huh? Why are you talking like you're so smart? Huh? So the inconceivable amount of water is moving outwards towards the shore, losing almost no energy as it moves along. Terrifying, devastating, apocalyptic are adjectives that I think could use to describe such a thing. What causes the giant wave, though? Well, there's a blah, 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 blah. Okay, we kind of get it. Yeah. I get it. This isn't a math class, I'm sorry. All right, this is a serious discussion about 403 still, I swear, but I really need to get the obvious out of the way so we can call the measure of the circumference of the Earth. So I remember back in chapter 4 and 23, there's this little map of the route Chizuru and Kazuya could take to get to Mother Farm. Yeah, I estimated that this was the turning point of the story where things would start to become more clear as we're exiting the tunnel. Kind of like the epicenter of an earthquake. It took us about 40 chapters from the taxi cab kiss to get there. And lo and behold, we started getting more direct glimpses of Chizuru at the play practice. We got a long conversation with Umi. Things are coming to light. We're getting to see more and more, but it's still kind of impenetrable from a certain vantage point. Let's now finally zoom in to the beginning of chapter 433. Ruka looks forlorn at her body in the tub. She's not really looking at her body, though, is she? She's just looking at the water. Her body's being shown. Which, yes, could have some significance, absolutely. Ruka's body being consistently shown, in particular her boobs, absolutely holds some significance. Something we can talk about later. But let's keep going. Okay. Tiny waves ripple around, yet even in the shallow tub, her form is distorted, almost as if dissolving. Yeah, and we talked about this. Ban the bot. Thanks, Goku, for subscribing. Here, Goku, since you're here so often. Hey, Goku, since you're here so often, I gave you moderator privileges. Feel free to ban the bot. You just have to click on their name, and it'll show you, like, the ban thing. Thank you very much. I'm just going to say that sounds really pretentious. To be fair, so did I. To be fair, so did I. That's why I skipped a lot of it. To be fair, so did I. That's why I skipped a lot of it. Like, there's just things I don't like about some of JoJo's approach, and that's fine. Use the power wisely, Goku. Use the power wisely. Understand, like, just understand. Like, here's something I'm going to teach you guys. Here's something I'm going to teach you guys. It's a very useful tip when you're learning. Very, very useful tip when you're learning. It's okay to recognize when someone's being pretentious, to being an ass, being a dick, whatever. But also recognize you can still learn something. That's a very important. Learn to disassociate from those things and learn when you can actually understand something. You need to disassociate sometimes, because I have learned very important things from people I do not like. Okay? But it's good to learn to separate that a little bit. I'm not saying remove that. I'm not saying get rid of the fact that you don't like this person. I'm saying don't let that aspect define you learning something new. Because you can probably learn something new. So just don't let someone being pretentious stop you, or someone being an ass or someone being a dick stop you from learning something new. I think that's a huge factor in, like, politics, for instance. There's a lot of people don't like listening to because they sound pretentious or they sound like a fucking ass. But they have a lot to say that you could really learn from. Whereas some people are very charismatic, but are saying the stupidest shit in the world. Like, they are literally saying garbo doo-doo butter. And you're listening to them because they sound charismatic. But what they're saying is fucking stupid. And I want you guys to learn to let go of that idea. Don't let charisma define how you feel about someone, or someone being relatable or easy to understand. Don't let that define whether you're learning from something from them or not. In that same way, if someone sounds pretentious or an ass or over the top or elitist, don't let that define whether there's something to learn or what they're saying is correct or not incorrect. Because sometimes it can be that, right? Someone being a pretentious or an ass or an elitist can show you that, hey, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, right? They're just being elitist and like pretending to know what the fuck they're talking about. But at the same time, them being that way could also be something that could inform you. Maybe that's just something that's stopping them. Maybe it's literally just a character flaw. That doesn't mean there's nothing to learn. So please let go of these ideas. Learn to disassociate from these emotions. Do not let those emotions control you. That's helped me become not only a better analyst, but it's also helped me become better at learning. And I can recognize things a lot easier, and I can call things out a lot easier when I can learn to separate my emotions a little bit. Because a lot of times it's very easy to be angry. And when you're controlled by your emotions, you're not learning anything, you're not changing anything. Oh, I can create clips on Twitch now. What? I can make clips on Twitch now? Can you guys make clips? Can one of you guys make a clip? Because I have it right here. It just says Alt X. You can Alt X and just create a clip? Cool. Yeah, obviously. Oh. Well, sorry, I'm stupid. Okay. Maybe Ruka is... Okay. Oh, so yeah. So, okay. Yeah, you're seeing ripples in the water. He is correct about that. You're quite literally seeing ripples in the water. Then the water is still, but she makes ripples when she moves. It's almost like Ruka is the fucking earthquake. It's almost like Ruka is the fucking earthquake. She's literally making ripples in the water. She is the wave. But her form is being distorted in the water, which is very fitting because, like we said before, there's this whole thing with Ruka, where Ruka's name literally means lapis lazuli summer. That's kind of what her name means, at least her first name. Why is that interesting? Well, when Ruka, when you put lapis lazuli in water, it literally, especially seawater, it literally like falls apart. Its minerals are like taken out. Its minerals literally fall apart. So Ruka's form is literally losing its texture in the water. Okay. There was some extra stuff I wasn't catching before. Okay. Almost as if dissolving. You watch my streams. You watched my streams. You saw I already fucking said this. Maybe Ruka is not unable to see what's beneath the water's surface. God damn it. I'm going to start reading Loveless to you motherfuckers. I'm going to start reading Loveless to you motherfuckers. God damn it. Maybe Ruka is not able to see what underneath the water's surface, but perhaps she feels for the loss of her previous form as it melts away. Ooh, that's kind of a cool analysis. I like that. She's deep in thought about her conversation with Umi. She's thinking about all the things she can take away from the conversation. Maybe she could work with him, but no, if she gets found out, that would ruin things. Maybe he might tell Chizuru about it, and that would cause Kazuya to hate her. She's thinking there might be implications beyond just cooperating for Umi's intentions. She's hitting upon a lot of things that could potentially bear fruit if she allowed herself to go a little further in her thinking. But she stops herself. Yeah, I mean, Ruka's kind of low-key going down the villain's arc. She can intuit the truth about the situation she's in, but she doesn't want to fully face the result of the consequences of it all. She's refusing to see it all the way through. Yeah. Again, the consequences of your actions and living with those. Notice one last thing about Ruka in this chapter at the beginning at the bottom right panel. She is at the park, right? She's at the park, right? On the ground, yet is the brick radiating out in the concentric pen? Wait, what? One last thing about Ruka in this chapter at the beginning of the bottom right panel. Here? Okay, what's going on in that picture? Oh, is it the way this panel is forming? Huh. It's like kind of twisted. Okay. She's at the park, right? On the ground. Is the brick radiating out in the concentric fan? Oh, like concrete. Okay. This is the moment where her heart monitor spiked. No! Okay, guys. Guys. Stop that. No, stop it. Okay, we have to correct this. This has become a problem. I'm getting annoyed. Okay. This is not her heart monitor. Okay? This is the picture she took in the previous chapter. This right here is this picture Ruka took. It is not her heart monitor. It is the picture of the heart monitor. Okay. Perhaps if she had taken the moment to notice it, she would have seen the truth behind why her heart rate spikes. It's like a seismographic curve, blah, blah, blah. But alas, she missed it and is now dissolving, boiling. Slowly, her thoughts as to who she was melts away. She missed it and is now dissolving, boiling slowly in her thoughts as she once was melts away. Like the circles coming out, concentric. What? Okay. Time to learn a new word. Concentric objects. In geometry, two or more objects are said to be concentric. How do you say this word?
Concentric.
Okay, I've been saying it right. Concentric. When they share the same center, any part of a possibly unlikely object will be defined. Centers can be concentric, including spheres. Okay. Okay. They're rating out in a concentric pattern. Oh, so like, okay, it's kind of what I understood, but not quite. Yeah, it's like a circle. But if we go to the page, we can see it more clearly. Okay. Yeah. It's like a circle. I get it. But this, I've been saying this since that chapter dropped. This is not her heart monitor for a very specific reason. It beeps. Every single time you see the heart monitor, it beeps. It makes a sound. It moves. There's no beeping. There's no sound. And thematically, it makes sense because this is literally her memory of when her heart first rised. It was at 79. And Ruka is literally holding on to that memory, but now the memory is flipped over. This is not her heart rate monitor. This is Ruka holding on to a memory that's upside down, and she doesn't realize it. The memory is not the same anymore. It's literally lost its meaning. It's flipped over. She's holding on to a picture that's flipped over and messed up, and she doesn't notice that. That's the point. That's what's going on. This isn't her heart rate. If it was her heart rate, Reiji would have put more emphasis on that. If Reiji really wanted you to be like, her heart rate is rising because Umi is here, he would have put more emphasis on that, even if Ruka missed it. You would notice it. You, as a reader, would notice it. Reiji would want you to notice that. Reiji has adamantly been very open, or not very open. Okay, let me correct myself. Sorry. Take that back. Let me correct myself. When Reiji does not want you to see something, he will go out of his way to so you don't see it. When Reiji wants you to interpret something in a particular way, he will tell you. Whether you understand it or not is a whole other thing. But it will be there. Okay? He will give you hints. It will be there. You just have to pay attention. But he's not going to just put something there and tell you it means this thing, but in reality it means something else. And not explain it. And not give you hints at that. There are no hints whatsoever that Ruka has her heart monitor running right now. There is not a single hint showing you that her heart rate is running right now. The only connection to this is the picture she took earlier. And it's the same exact number. That is 2 on the nose. This is clearly meant to be connected to Kazuya, not Umi. This is Ruka holding on to Kazuya and not wanting to let go, but the picture's all twisted up. Thematically, that makes perfect sense. She literally says Kazuya is the only one I have. This is about Kazuya. This is not about Umi. She is trapping herself. This has nothing to do with Umi. All Umi is doing is pointing out things she already knows about herself. He's breaking her picture. But this image right here, right here, I'm pointing it out, this is Ruka's picture she took earlier. This is not her heart rate monitor. It would have beeped. We would have seen it moving. Reiji would have zoomed in on it. The reason I know very well is because of the chocolate that Chizuru gave Kazuya. Right? We had an entire stream for like an hour or two. We were trying to figure out what the fuck the goddamn chocolate said. Only for us to later find out Reiji did not want it to be legible. I went to his Twitter space. He said he didn't want it to be legible. He said it's cool people were able to translate it and it's not written correctly, but he didn't want it to be legible. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, and so ever since then, I've come to understand, okay, this is something he does not want me to interpret this way. This is something he does want me to interpret this way. Sometimes he doesn't want us to see things, and we're looking for them. Sometimes they are in there. You're not wrong. But this is definitely not one of those cases where her heart rate monitor is going. I'm just going to adamantly disagree with that every time. It makes thematically much more sense for it to not be beeping and for it to, in fact, be something else, something she doesn't even bother checking. She doesn't even bother checking her heart rate around Umi because she doesn't even consider him. He is literally an alternate universe to her. She doesn't even think about him. She keeps telling herself she doesn't like him. So why would there be proof that she does and she's not paying attention to it? Why would she even pull that up to prove it, right? She would never even pull it up in the first place. It doesn't make sense for her to pull it up in the first place. It does make more sense to her to pull up a picture of her attachment to Kazuya and her inability to let go of that. That makes so much more sense. Okay. She's now dissolving, boiling slowly in her thoughts as she once was, melts away. That I can agree to. And the waves of the bathtub are so small, you'd never think they could soon grow to wipe the entire house away. And then Prokun tells us of dark dwellers and light shiners to move us to Kazuya. Prokun? Oh, is it, are you like abbreviating his name? I don't think the heart rate equals like, I think that's what Ruka thinks. Exactly, but why would... And if Ruka thinks that, right, based on your logic, what you just said, if Ruka thinks that, why the fuck would she pull up her heart monitor? Because that would prove to her that she might like Umi. There's literally no reason for her to pull up the heart monitor. It doesn't make any sense. Like, she doesn't even associate liking Umi at all. And if she pulled up the heart monitor, it would break the illusion. She would never do it. The heart monitor literally breaks Ruka's illusion. She would literally never pull it up around Umi because that would mean she's willing to break the illusion. She's willing to test that. She's willing to find out. She's not. She doesn't want to find out. So she would never ever pull it up. You're right that there is something there for us to notice, but that thing, in my opinion, is that the number is flipped. What do I mean? Look here, if we go back to the Ruka chapter, it's right there. It's in your face. There is something to notice. You're right. But it's not what you think it is. You're digging too deep. This is what's referenced. Okay? Just to show you so we're on the same page. This is Ruka's face. This is what's referenced. Look at the number. It's 79. It's 97 now. What she found when it first began is completely flipped on its head now. It's all wrong. The picture is twisted up. It's flipped into a mirror. And she doesn't notice that. And this also ties directly into Kazuya himself. And this ties directly into Kazuya himself as well as Umi. There's a contextual element into Umi, but it doesn't have to do with the actual heart rate. Whereas before, she actually looked at her heart rate. Here, she doesn't. The entire sequence here with Umi is meant to be flipped. It's meant to be literally the opposite. Everything Umi does is the opposite. Kazuya shows us he's a good guy. Kazuya goes out of his way, like he's following Ruka just like Umi, except Kazuya didn't. Kazuya is the one who followed Ruka. Umi just showed up and invited Ruka, and Ruka chose to go to him. Ruka's acting like Umi's the one following her, when in reality she's the one who's dragging him along. The entire sequence is meant to be flipped on its head. And so naturally, she would never check her heart rate. She would be attached to an old heart rate she can't let go of. Before, Ruka is unable to find something. Now, Ruka is unable to let go of something. It is literally the opposite. These scenes are connected. There are things there. You are right. I just do not believe her heart rate monitor is going off here. I'm not going to believe that unless Reiji just straight up says, hey, her heart monitor was going off here and you're fucking stupid and you weren't paying attention. I'll be like, okay, cool, you got me, boss. Then I'll believe it. But there is no evidence to show that. Ask Reiji. He hasn't been doing any Twitter spaces. But based on the way I have come to understand Reiji's writing, at the very least, how he does structuring. At the very least, how he does structuring. This is not it. Like, granted, if you go back to the scene where Kazuya first tells Ruka, and she tells him she's a rental girlfriend, yeah, you don't see that. Except, right? You don't see that sequence, except there's something kind of important about that. Right? When Ruka first tells Kazuya, you don't see it. Except Ruka is intentionally hidden. And she's not crying here. Why is this important? Here. In chapter 28, when you do get the reveal, she's reacting to Kazuya, but what's happening? You don't see her face. Her heart is beating like crazy. And she doesn't actually check her heart monitor here. She checks it when she walks away. And it literally makes sounds. She checks it afterwards. That's why you never see it. She checks it afterwards. And the irony, and we've talked about this, in fact, I think Varicus, Jojo, either you or Varicus wrote something when we were seeing the Ruka event, when the Ruka stuff was first going on, and you said something that I think is really, really fitting. You said what Ruka was, either you or Varicus were saying something along the lines of, Ruka seemed very robotic when she was doing this. Maybe it wasn't either of you. Ruka seemed very robotic in the way that she was doing stuff. Why is this so fucking important? I'm not just some robot. Before, she finally got proof she wasn't a robot. And now, what are you seeing? She's literally a fucking robot. She's literally becoming a robot. When you try so hard not to be something, you ultimately become that thing. And what are you seeing with Ruka? She's ultimately very disconnected. She's very disconnected from everyone around her. The number literally flipped to reflect the fact that she has become the very thing she did not want to be. How fitting, we're playing the Doom theme. Okay. Let's see. Kazuya is deep in thought about his confession and how he still struggles to really put into words exactly what he loves about her. He thinks of Umi's "I love you" to Chizuru-chan and thinking about how simple that was. He himself is struggling to simplify what it is that he loves about Chizuru. He ends up conflating the Ichinose and Mizuhara as more or less the same because he thinks of how they both work super hard and always try to do the right thing. I just realized that's literally things he's doing. Oh. I just realized that's literally things he's doing. That's why he understands it this way. Oh, Reiji cooking, bro. They both work super hard, do their best, and always try to do the right thing, and seem perfect at the same time, not perfect. Why is this interesting? Because everything he just described is quite literally what he's doing. He understands the difference between Chizuru Mizuhara and Chizuru Ichinose simply by what they do on the surface. But these are just traits of Chizuru herself. That doesn't mean they're not different. Just because Ichinose and Mizuhara have traits similar to each other, it doesn't mean they're not that different. He's only looking at the surface. Just as him getting a license, him getting, him working out, and him, what is the last thing he did? Job hunting is something everyone can do. It is not something solely exclusive to him. All these things that he's seeing is just the surface that anybody can do. Working hard, doing your best, doing the right thing, that's just something everyone does. Or can do, not necessarily does. Everyone can do that. So just because Chizuru becomes a different person, it doesn't mean it means she's not gonna try hard, do her best, or do the right thing. Right? Think about that for a sec. So just because you put on a different persona, you're gonna lose traits of yourself. If anything, I would say whatever persona you wear will reflect aspects of who you are. That doesn't mean it's fully you. It just reflects parts of you. Parts of you will always be reflected in your persona. That is why it is a window. But what is a window? It is a screen separating you from something on the other side. You're not actually there. You're merely getting a glimpse at it. You're not actually there. Like I've said, a mask is both a mirror and a window, just as art is both a mirror and a window. Things can be reflected back at you, but you can also see things from through it, just as a window can literally be a reflection. That's what Kazuya is doing. He's looking at things everyone does, and just happens to associate it with Chizuru. Just because Mizuhara has traits of Ichinose, it doesn't mean it's the same. They are different. Now I understand it better. I think this actually connects to the chapter as a whole. I think this one sentence, or this one thought that Kazuya does, actually connects to everything. Because it literally connects to what Mr. Fish said. There are two types of people in this world, those who dwell in darkness and those who shine a light onto it. That doesn't mean someone who shines a light onto darkness doesn't mean they will not be in it. You can be in darkness and shine a light on it. In that same way, someone who is in light can also sink into darkness. And so in turn dwell in that darkness. They can be and appear very similar. They're not. Okay, I'm starting to kind of piece together what the theme is for this chapter. It's how things can appear very, very similar, but they're not the same. Which thematically makes a lot of sense for Ruka's character, because Ruka's whole thing is she's literally envious of Chizuru and wants to be her, or take what she has. And so this is a chapter about seeing things appear very similar when they're not the same at all. This is how something can look really, really similar, but it is not the same thing. It merely appears the same. It's something completely different. And I think Ruka being a cheerleader and Kazuya not reacting, whereas Chizuru being a cheerleader and Kazuya sprinting, kind of shows that. Just because something looks the same, it doesn't mean it is. Okay. Okay. Or we can find similarities in things that seem the same, but they're not. Okay. He himself is struggling to simplify. Okay. Or that. This is the Chizuru. This is the Chizuru or Thousand Cranes that they both share. A hardworking, earnestly thorough line between the two. But the one thing that Mizuhara and Ichinose share is that they contain water. Mizuhara is the clear, seamless, perfect plane of water, where Ichinose is the rough, choppy, and treacherous rapids through rushing in a singular direction. So another thing I do want to point out about Mizuhara's name. Mizu, in particular, is water that can become anything. So it's a general term of water that can expand to other types of water. That's why Mizu is often like, you'll hear people say Mizu for when they want a cup of water, like something to drink. But water can be associated with anything. Something that captures that really well is, interestingly, Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer, the water style is called Mizo something. Mizo no Kyu or something like that. And they say in the actual manga, the water style is the entry style that can become any other style. People often start with water because it can become any other style. Because it is, and it's the form that has the most, it's the type of the style that has the most forms. Like no other form in Demon Slayer has this many forms. And I think that's literally the point. It can literally be a still plane of water. It can be a rapid. It could be anything. Thematically, that makes perfect sense for Chizuru's character. It reflects what she's trying to convey. She can literally morph and become anything. It is a type of water that can adjust to any form. That's the hidden thing in Mizuhara, right? It's a still plane of water. And that's the point. Whereas Ichinose is very personal. It is a rapid or a current flowing into a single path. So it's literally called a single current of water, or just a single current. That's what it means. It's supposed to be very directed into a specific path. So it's basically a single current or a single rapid. And you can interpret it whichever way you want. It's not supposed to be necessarily treacherous. It's just supposed to be more intense and more focused. It's very, very focused, very driven. And there's a single path to go. So her name as a whole literally means 1,000 paper cranes on a single current. Which is really interesting. It's literally all these dreams, all these hopes and dreams that are conveyed through the 1,000 paper cranes are literally being driven into a single path. She carries all these hopes and dreams. Okay? And that's really interesting considering the job she works where she tries to make everyone happy. Right? So she's literally carrying everyone's hopes and dreams on the single current. Whereas Mizuhara is just 1,000 paper cranes on a still plane of water. Granted, each Chizuru in Mizuhara is spelled differently. So the reason Chizuru is surprised in the first episode or the second episode when Kazuya finds her out is because the names and how she looks are spelled completely different. It's not just her looks. Her name is spelled completely different. It's literally not spelled the same at all. Like, she uses, the way her name is spelled in, like, normal is either hiragana or katakana. Pretty sure katakana, probably. Whereas in the way she writes it in Mizuhara form, it's all kanji. So that's why she's, like, thrown off. It's not just her look, so it doesn't seem stupid to you, you know? He thinks of Umi. I love Chizuru-chan. Okay, we already read this. A hardworking, earnestly, thoroughly... a thorough line between the two. But the one thing that Mizuhara and Ichinose share is that they contain water. Mizuhara is a clear, seamless, perfect plane of water, where Ichinose is rough, choppy, and treacherous rapids. Not necessarily, it's just more focused and a specific kind of water. It's not that it's supposed to be choppy, it's supposed to be very specific. Like, it picks a form of water. I think that's more of the idea, is that there is a definition to this water, rather than just being in a water that can be anything. Faye, look at Chapter 6 title. Chapter 6. Okay, it doesn't say it here. One sec. One secondly sec. Okay, view, extra large icons. Oh, I gotta organize it, of course. Sort by name. Nope. Okay, so volume 2. Oh yeah, I forgot the first volumes were much longer. My Girlfriend and the Broken Hearts. Okay. What's important about the... Do you think we'll get a part 2? Maybe. I don't fucking know. Maybe. I don't fucking know. We've gotten part 2 to other things, but... Beats me, man. I don't know. I'm not sure, man. I have no clue. My Girlfriend and the Broken Hearts. We could. Beats me, man. We could get one for Ruka. Beats me. Yeah, I was expecting something exciting. Sorry, it's just like... That's just pure, like... What is it? Like conjecture. Not even a theory, it's just conjecture, because, like, we have nothing to go on. I feel like Ruka will get her heart broken. And Umi? What about Umi? Like, Umi will also get his heart broken? Umi already had his heart broken a while ago. It's not even from Chizuru, it's something else. Okay. I need to highlight where I am, so I keep losing my place. Okay. The outcome of his deliberation is that he loves Mizuhara. He is in light as he says that. So it's self-evident. So it's self-evidently true. But that's precisely the problem. He can't see the depths of Chizuru, nor can he say the depths of Umi. Yeah, like he is correct. He's in love with Mizuhara. That is true. He's in love with Mizuhara. But how can he say he loves Ichinose? I would say it's not that he doesn't love Chizuru. He loves a part of her, but he doesn't know all of her. And this brings up that thing I said before, where it's like, how can you say you love someone when you don't really know them, like fully, when you don't fully know them? He completely conflates the actions and their inner self as the same thing. He would never be able to see the wave coming. He only sees the placid body of water. Okay. I'm not gonna lie, Jojo. So far, you didn't need a lot of the stuff you wrote in the beginning. I felt like you could have conveyed a lot of this by just trimming this way down. Not to sound like Minnie. But I think that intro could scare some people off. If they don't know how to trim, or if they don't want to engage with all of that. Like, I think you could trim it down, and simplify it a little bit. Granted, maybe there's something more that I haven't seen yet, but, yeah. But Minnie, at the moment of revelation for Kazuya, looks at him as if she is the Virgin Mary, which I guess makes Kazuya her Jesus Christ and the manager. True. She did get called the Holy Mother. But what is he even the savior of? The prototypical rom-com protagonist comes to fulfill the prophecy of true love. We know already that this is pure fantasy, but there she is, ready to birth his self-savior, ready to birth this false savior into the world. And worse yet, she holds the literal keys to his home. She is the gatekeeper to Kazuya. She decides what keychain shall be worthy to don the key to Kazuya's heart. Bro, you have some really good shit in there. You have some genuinely good shit in there. Especially if you get a confirmation that Minnie does in fact have the keys to Kazuya's house. Like, I feel like you really got some just solid shit in there. There we go. Let's just go with this. Okay. But what my true intention here is to develop a timeline how the wave will manifest with the characters. Since Kazuya can see the early waves and Ruka chooses to ignore all the early detection, the characters will only see the wave comes when the sea is laid bare. When Umi and Chizuru are revealed for what and who they really are, and it's undeniable as the waves is now 60 feet high in the air. Kazuya won't be able to call Chizuru Mizuhara anymore, and there'll be nothing left of what we know as Ruka by the time either. Huh. So the wave is going to crash on both of them. To be fair, you don't like math, so you skipped a lot of juicy stuff. Again, you have to do a little... The problem is where you inserted it. If you put a lot of math in the beginning and you don't spread it out, it can be challenging to a reader to be like, I'm going to read that. So to me, it's not juicy. Like, that's kind of the problem. It's like, to me, it's not juicy. I like math. Sorry to tell you, I'm not a math fan. Okay. So yeah, the wave could crash on both of them, and both Chizuru and Umi are water in that way. Okay. So a general timeline to get there. If we consider that it took about 40 chapters to get to the midpoint of the bay, the longest timer I would set would probably be right around from chapter 426. So we could start to see the bare floor as 20 chapters and probably lay at 40 chapters. Yeah, I mean, we're probably going to see something in the 440s. I'm going to be real. We're probably going to start seeing some shit in the 440s. That's what just makes the most sense. 440 would also be Chizuru's numbers. Like, we're in the 400s and we're 40 now. It's all Chizuru's shit. Like, it just makes too much sense for it to be in the 440s. Yeah. I mention this because I think a lot of casual readers are starting to get fatigued by the current pace, whereas someone like me can find almost an unlimited amount of things to ponder and point connections to in the meantime. But if you want maybe a vague approximation of what we're waiting for, then it's probably a good bet to consider. However, take this caveat too. I took long estimates for my guess to get there. There are other types of waves that can hit you very quickly after the initial quake. Like 20 to 15 minutes after the initial quake, that wave could be very quickly. I mean, we already got a few waves here and there. Chapter 436 is right around the corner, which might be significant as the double of chapter 218. Huh. Or it might be a similar build-up chapter to those past 5-6. I guess I'll know when the wave is about to crash or have a better idea of how quickly the waves are building up in the upcoming chapters. But for now, I'm having fun dissecting things in the obvious step-by-step way. Oh, and before I forget, I mentioned that the waves are continuous. The waves can be stacked on top of each other. You see, ever since chapter 426, I've been noticing something odd about each of the next times. The next times usually refers to the theme of the next chapter by the way of pointing out something that is said or shown in the next chapter. Half of that is still true. The next times does literally show up the next chapter, but it's not really what the chapter is about anymore. The chapter next time is about the chapter is about. Confusingly worded. So let me just go through each chapter to show you what I mean. Frivolous person, 427. The chapter is where Ruka and Umi's conversation begins, and Ruka keeps getting the impression that Umi is a shallow person by the way he interacts with the groupies. Perhaps Umi initially thinks a similar thing as he begins to probe and prod Ruka for answers. 428, I'm super curious. The chapter is where Ruka has flashback that lures her to the meeting due to her curiosity about Kazuya and Chizuru. Umi is shown to be curious too when asking why isn't Kazuya one of those fake people. One chance. Frivolous person, I'm super curious, one chance. The chapter is when Ruka wonders if there's one chance when Kazuya has slipped away, or that maybe through Umi that this is her one chance to finally get with Kazuya. Umi also seems to think that the information he's learning could be valuable enough to enact as one chance too. What that one chance, though, is enough to be valued. I remember 429 was like a weird one. Like, that wording showed up somewhere in their dialogue, but I don't remember where. It is to be real. A collaboration by the chapter seems more and more plausible, but I hope I've conveyed that it merely tip of the icebergs. Vigorous as an onomatopoeia. The chapter has Ruka, Chizuru, and Kazuya in turn doing actions that convey the onomatopoeia of vigorous. Really? What did Ruka and Chizuru do? I know for Kazuya because he was working out. And he was flexing his muscles. But what were Ruka and Chizuru doing? From shouting out your feelings, to hungrily eating a bowl, to diligently exercising to achieve your goal. No, it was literally just flexing. Like, the only place we really see the onomatopoeia for that one is, what chapter was this? What did we say for that one? It was 430. Yeah, the only place we really see the onomatopoeia is oh, it must have been for 431. Yeah, it was right here. We see the onomatopoeia right here. Like one of these when he's flexing his muscles. And it's mostly Kazuya. And then we see Chizuru. But we don't see the onomatopoeia with her. And we don't see Ruka in this chapter either. Or are you saying it's connected to the chapter? It's... Oh, you're saying the teaser is for those chapters that they're teasing? So it's not about the next chapter, it's also connected to the current chapter? Huh. That's a weird one. Kazuya is thinking of his progress up until that moment, thinking of all the things in the past and what he can truly achieve from the work. Chizuru is thinking of how her past actions have led to the messy state as she looks at a video of her past to rehearse for the future mistakes she's currently making. Huh. Weird. Okay. Collaboration. Kazuya and Mommy collaborate to drive the car. They didn't. No. Kazuya was just driving on his own. Mommy just happens to be sitting in the back. They're taking turns to get their highway driving practice. They're checking to each other, stops, and Mimi assists Kazuya. Example of harvesting his metaphorical ice cream cone. Okay, I'll give you credit to the second one. To give each other a gift. The keychain is an earnest compliment. Crucially, they are not talking about their past. They are not seeing the real person as they're checking in the mirror. Okay. Working experience. Okay, Jojo. Surely this is where it ended the streak of continuity. But I don't think so because what is it that Kazuya and Ruka are thinking about primarily in their thoughts? Umi and Chizuru's practical work experience. Umi's playing that part of the bar host to get you to open up about your closely guarded secrets. Ruka struggles to understand why she did this in reflection. In reflection? But in moments, she said it felt like being at a host bar. Finally, how our instincts can be instantly right, but our thoughts then clouded what was truly all along. Kazuya is thinking of the rental days he had with Chizuru, conflating the acting of rental with Chizuru as a real person. She even said it herself. Maybe Mizuhara is the person you love. Some of the things I completely made up. It's all continuous because of each next step. She shows up in small and important ways from then on, again and again. Fundamentally cores of the wave being stacked on top of each other until a tremendous wave emerges. All of these things have mounted to tiny ripples on the surface so far. But remember, those tiny waves are moving. Yep. All these waves seems to culminate in the picture from the uniform date that Kazuya holds. The moment he received it was chapter 82. Rereading the chapter, one very odd thing stuck out to me. Many things about the chapter should jump out to you, but this one thing left me cold. Chizuru had, in a previous chapter, invited Kazuya to sit next to her, but due to his mumbling nature, fell on top of her and smashed his palm into her breast as he did so. Okay. Chizuru reflexively slaps him for it. No one is to blame for the situation. It quickly gets resolved. But they don't end up sitting next to each other as a result of it. An unhappy accident. No, that's not what she said. No. That doesn't seem right. No. She didn't say, come sit next to me. She just said, come here, you can see better. He never gets to see. I would say that's more accurate. Let's pull it up. So no, it's in chapter 81. She just says, come here. Right? He doesn't sit next to her. She didn't invite him to sit next to her. Yeah. No, that's not accurate. That's not accurate. And he got to stay next to her, too. He just didn't get to see the thing. Kazuya and Chizuru then talk about weird or off-putting clients that Chizuru has had at a part of her work experience. This leads to Chizuru proclaiming, I'm in love. This is a weird part to me looking back on it now, as I've been more careful noticing characters and shadows and how that represents their confusion or misunderstanding of the situation. I couldn't help but notice that Kazuya misunderstood that her line about being in love is about work. And as she continues to talk about the process bringing latecomers out of their shell and seeing them get their own girlfriend, well, she specifically talks about Kazuya here. She specifically is referring to Kazuya here. Like, I don't know. It felt like he was referring to Kazuya here. Hearing a late bloomer who couldn't talk at all at first gradually be able to say he had a girlfriend made me really happy. Like, it felt like it's referring to Kazuya. All I can do is pretend, but it's wonderful to think that for a moment such a lie can make someone happy. I think an actress's job is similar. Kazuya and Chizuru then talk. Okay, yeah. Yeah, Chizuru is completely in light, but Kazuya is in shadow. He doesn't really get it. Not fully. As she continues to talk about the process of bringing a latecomer out of the shell. Yep. He thinks work is what she's talking about, but by the context of chapter 43, I hope you can see that there is an undercurrent to her words. There's a hidden layer of meaning behind the perfect Mizuhara. So it makes me wonder, who did Chizuru love way back in chapter 82? The mysterious late bloomer who found a girlfriend? Kazuya is a late bloomer, but he could always talk. He could always speak his mind. His words of "don't you feel empty" hit Chizuru like no one before. And he doesn't have a girlfriend yet either. If anything, Kazuya has been becoming more and more like the person she describes, more unable to say his words, less comfortable, more dependent on an act that was never even for him. Okay, I can see that. Yeah, I can see Chizuru somewhat misattributing Kazuya a little bit there. And Kazuya holds the picture of that event in hands. It reminds me of the moment he steeled his resolve to help her with her dreams, but it disguises the hidden truth being told to him that day. He thinks covets a diamond, but what if he really holds a bomb? Interesting. I think in that sense what you could say is that Chizuru misunderstood Kazuya as Kazuya misunderstands Chizuru now. Who they thought they were in the beginning is not who they are now. End of chapter 81. Nope, not Kazuya. She wasn't talking about Kazuya, though. But Kazuya did say he had a girlfriend. I mean, to be fair, she's not looking at him. She says I'm in love when she's looking at him. Maybe this isn't about him, but it kind of connects to him. One thing I find interesting about this photo is how Kazuya's eyes are like all, like, he's not fully seeing the picture. They're like half closed. Kazuya's eyes are literally half closed here. He's not seeing the full picture. I think that's kind of important. Plus, Chizuru's just actually wait. No. Chizuru's description actually fits Kazuya to a T. Here, I'll show you. When the date starts, Kazuya couldn't say a word. He couldn't say a word. And what did Chizuru do? Right? What did Chizuru do? Chizuru was talking the whole time. And then she looks at him, and he's not talking, and eventually she gets him to talk. And suddenly he starts to get more confident. Right? Look at him freaking out. And suddenly he starts to get more confident and do things. Yeah. I think that description fits Kazuya for the date, not Kazuya as a whole. Just as Kazuya is only seeing like a flicker in time when he looks at Chizuru in certain aspects, in that scene, I think Chizuru was only seeing a bit of Kazuya. And the way Kazuya transforms throughout the story kind of fits that description too. I would say Kazuya at the start of the story was a little more timid and couldn't really say what he wanted to say. But after like chapter 50, we start getting this a lot more. I think we started getting this Kazuya a lot more. I think the description does fit. Kazuya was a lot more timid. He kind of was a bit of a late bloomer in a lot of respects, but not like fully. I think the description kind of fits and it kind of doesn't. And I think that's what makes it interesting. I think that's what makes the description kind of interesting. It fits and it doesn't fit. And you can associate it with Kazuya, but you're also right. It's also not him. And I think maybe that's what's interesting. And look at this. Look at how her eyes look. I think that's what's interesting too. I didn't notice that. Her eyes are literally flickering. Like she looks like she's dreaming. Right? She looks like she's literally dreaming. It's like she's in a dream. Her eyes go from wide open, but a little sleepy, right? Look at her eyes. They look a little dreamy. Sleepier, fully closed. It's like she's literally in a dream. But if she's in a dream, does that mean she sees the reality? And then Kazuya here looks very different, and her eyes are wide open. But when does this happen? At night. She falls asleep, and she's literally in a dream at night with Kazuya. And the way Kazuya starts this date is not how he ends it. The description she gives fits Kazuya in that particular date perfectly, but it doesn't fit Kazuya as a character as a whole. Because if you go to the beginning of the date, this is how Kazuya looks. He's all hesitant and weird and like being strange, and by the end of it, the dude looks like a man. Right? He looks like a dude. That is my goat right here. And I think that's important. that transformation Chizuru describes fits Kazuya in this particular date perfectly. But it's literally a dream. And it makes you question, what does Chizuru want? I think Chizuru and Kazuya are similar in some regards. Chizuru wants a guy like Kazuya who, in particular, the good aspects of Kazuya. She wants the good aspects of Kazuya where he's manly and cool and supportive and carries her. And Kazuya wants the good aspects of Chizuru, where he wants the strong aspects of her, the person who has it all together, the person who's perfect but not perfect, who works hard, who tries to do the right thing. But they're both trapped in that illusion, in that dream, if you will. The dream of someone appearing a certain way versus what they really are. Yeah. Accepting the flaws of that person. I think Chizuru doesn't want to accept any of Kazuya's flaws out of her guilt. And Kazuya doesn't want to accept any of Chizuru's flaws out of his trauma. Both are inherently connected. Both of them are doing the same thing in reversed ways. Rather than a bomb, I think Kazuya thinks he's holding a diamond, when in reality, he's holding a counterfeit, less than a bomb. He's holding a counterfeit. But the thing is, that means more to him than an actual diamond. And he has to question what he really wants. Because the thing he's holding isn't actually Chizuru. Her in that picture, I think, is thematically fitting. He's looking at the dream date picture, Chizuru. Just as Chizuru would only see the dream date Kazuya. Right, he's looking at his ideal, not the reality. Yeah. I think Kazuya in some ways doesn't fit Chizuru's image of what she thought she would be necessarily in love with. So she starts seeing things like what her grandpa does, right? She starts seeing aspects of her grandpa in Kazuya. But there's also things she doesn't see and she doesn't understand. Chizuru doesn't understand what love is because she's trying to see Kazuya in a way that fits her image of what she thinks love is, where what she doesn't accept is that she does have an attraction to looks in some ways. Just as Kazuya has an attraction to looks. He's looking for these good qualities, good traits. I think thematically that would be really interesting for characters in this particular genre, because of how a lot of romances, especially in modern day, regardless of what genre you fall, regardless of what demographic you fall into, shonen, seinen, josei, shoujo, you'll see a repeating theme of almost all these characters generally having all the ideal traits. You'll see that very often. They'll have all the good traits. And I think that doesn't reflect reality. That doesn't reflect the reality of relationships and how people don't always have the best traits, but you can still love them. You can still be in love with them, and the traits can be emotional as well as physical, right? That's a big thing to interpret. Like, someone can be very beautiful, but also be very virtuous. I think that's an important thing Reiji is talking about. this is given more credence when we look at, for example, I've talked about this a few times in the past, just for people who are new here. Chizuru's notebook here that you might have a hard time seeing because of me. There is some writing on Chizuru's notebook here. It's in hiragana. It literally reads, the good man and the bad woman. But hiragana in particular is very interpretive. That's intentional. They don't specify what's good and they don't specify what's bad. That's very intentional. They don't specify what is being good. Or is the person good as in they're kind, or is the person good as in they appear good? In the same way, it fits the theme of it's the same with bad, where someone, what is bad, right? Someone actually bad, or are they just seen as bad? I think this ties directly to that perfectly. The characters are trapped in idealistic traits that we have seen a lot in social media. In social media, you'll see the glorification of these idealistic traits, you know? They'll want... So, for example, a lot of women tend to be attracted to... And again, this is a bit of a generalization. I'm not saying this is as a whole. This is a bit of a generalization. Something some women tend to be attracted to is a man who does his dishes, does his own laundry, cleans up and stuff, cooks, and respects their autonomy. Okay? And that, to some, is enough. Right? And again, these are idealistic traits. A man can have all of these traits and still be a horrible person, a horrible partner. You know? A person can have all these traits and still be a horrible partner. Whereas there can also be a person who's missing some of these traits, right? Maybe they don't do their own laundry, you know? Or maybe they wait too long to do the laundry. They don't do the dishes, right? But they're actually very supportive. They're there for you all the time. See what I mean? Respecting autonomy, I think, is just kind of a given, right? That's just kind of a given. But granted, there are a lot of men who just don't respect autonomy. In that same way, some idealistic traits a lot of men attach to. I think that's a good way of putting it. Some traits a lot of people in a specific gender try to attach to. When it comes to men, is like women having good figures. If you see like more traditional families and stuff, they'll want like a very supportive girl who will listen to all their troubles and hear what they're going through, and be there for them when they're at their worst, and they want to be accepted by her. Right? All things you can definitely see with Kazuya, where he wants to be accepted for who he is. He wants a beautiful girl. He wants a girl who will listen to him, and see him and all that stuff. But a partner can do all these things and still not be a good person. You know? I'd say Ruka kind of fits that perfectly. Right? I would say Ruka and Mami kind of fit that perfectly. Even Sumi. I think Sumi embodies it to a fucking T. Sumi seemingly has all the idealistic traits. And yet, I would argue she would make for a terrible partner for Kazuya. I think Kazuya and Sumi would not work. She seemingly has all the idealistic traits. And I don't think they would work. In that same way, I think Umi has a lot of the idealistic traits on surface level. You know, he's rich, he's powerful, he's very attractive. And that is a lot, like, I think a lot of people would be attracted to Umi on surface level. And yet he can also be invasive, and it can make some girls uncomfortable, you know? But that doesn't mean he's necessarily a bad guy. I think what Reiji is talking about is how both demonized and idealistic traits of people blind us. They blind us from seeing who people really are. And in that same way, I think thematically that fits the chapter incredibly well. Because the chapter, like I said, I believe the thesis for the chapter is I don't think there's a big difference between Chizuru Mizuhara and Chizuru Ichinose. No, there is a difference, 100%. And I think it's because when we see certain traits we're all familiar with two different sides of a person, it means that is the real person. In reality, that it does not mean that's the real person, because these are just traits we know and recognize. It doesn't mean you actually that doesn't mean there is no difference. That is not true. And so I think I think this chapter kind of leverages this idea of how, despite Kazuya shining a light onto the darkness, he doesn't actually see what's inside. Ruka, despite dwelling in the darkness, or maybe it's even the opposite, I don't know, right? Ruka's literally sitting in shadow. Like, literally, isn't Ruka quite literally sitting in a shadow? Isn't that literally what it looks like? It looks like Ruka is literally sitting in a shadow. So even though Ruka is literally sitting in a shadow, she comes out of the water and she shines a light onto her darkness. Kazuya, I think, is the opposite. Kazuya was always naked. But maybe he's the dweller in the dark. And Minnie merely shined a light onto it. Right, at least Ruka comes out of the darkness, Kazuya doesn't. Yeah. So I think it's this idea of this chapter, I think, is this idea of how what was the writing here? There was writing here that I think could inform what I want to say. Okay, so the opening page reads, "The ripples that spread through her heart is only getting bigger," which kind of matches what JoJo was like alluding to. You know, the ripples in the water are getting larger, right? So the wave could be like the ripples in the heart. "Those young and honest feelings will reach the sky to cheer you up." It's so fitting that we're talking about the cheer up, because when we go back, there's the cheer up date. But Kazuya sure as fuck doesn't look cheered up. You know? And cheering, like, is cheering someone on. But the Ruka's cheers mean nothing to Kazuya. So rather, this raises a question of how things appear may not matter to some people. Right? Ruka seemingly has a lot of the idealistic traits. Kazuya doesn't give a fuck. Chizuru has a lot of the idealistic traits, and he cares a lot. So the perception and the perspective shape the reality. So Ruka literally says in this chapter, "I'm confident I can make him happier." Here's Kazuya not giving a fuck. So she's literally wrong. What she perceives as reality isn't. There's got to be more. There is a difference between... There is a difference between what? There's a difference between what? There's a difference between Ruka's feelings and Kazuya's feelings. Just as there's a difference between what Ruka perceives about Umi and what Kazuya perceives about Chizuru. Okay, I think that's it. There's a difference between the dwellers in the dark and the people who shine a light on it, but they may look the same. They're not. Okay. There's a difference between a dweller in darkness and a person who, a light shiner. But they may look the same. And in the end, it raises the question, is Minnie any different from Ruka? What's the difference between Minnie and Ruka? And what's the difference between Kazuya and Ruka? Bro, this is fucking trippy. I'm getting in my own head. I'm losing myself to the sauce, my dude. I'm losing myself to the sauce. Sauced out of my fucking mind. Okay, how long have we been streaming? Almost 3 hours. Was there anything else interesting on Reddit? I don't want to just read everything. Yeah, I don't think Chizuru has feelings for Umi, but she could, like, it's not unfeasible that she could feel some sort of attraction. Like, Kazuya feels an attraction to Ruka. He doesn't fucking love her. Chizuru's human. Chizuru feeling an attraction isn't necessarily out of the question. Like, cool. Chizuru feels an attraction. She doesn't love him. And Umi doesn't see Chizuru. Maybe that's another part of it. Maybe Chizuru thinks Kazuya does see her. But she doesn't. Or sorry, but he doesn't. Maybe Chizuru thinks Kazuya does see her, but he doesn't. Ruka seems to be in light in chapter, and Minnie seems to cast darkness. I don't see that. All Minnie did was glimpse Kazuya's light. She didn't see any of his darkness. Whereas with Ruka, maybe you could say no one saw her light. She was always she dwelled in the darkness. And Reishi doesn't describe whether one is bad and one is good. Okay, people want me to read shit on Reddit or Discord. The chapter's theme is moving from uncertainty towards clarity through reality. I don't think so, but I'll keep reading. Ruka begins to try to understand what Rumi's confession meant, while Kazuya spends the chapter searching for the perfect confession. Fishkun's narration about those who dwell in the darkness and those who shine a light onto it supports the progression. Ruka remains trapped in uncertainty, while Kazuya gradually gains clarity when he realizes the difference between Mizuhara and Ichinose isn't as important as he believed. I think what Reiji has done in this chapter is trick us. I think what Reiji did in this chapter is trick us. Kazuya looks like a person who shines a light onto the darkness, and Ruka looks like a dweller in the darkness. I think it's very well possible it's the opposite. I think it's very possible it's the opposite. I think Kazuya convinced himself he's in light. He was always in darkness. Ruka, in contrast, looks like she's dwelling in the darkness. But maybe she's actually shining a light onto it. She's maybe shining a light onto the problem. Could be wrong. That's my immediate guess. Ruka remains trapped in uncertainty, while Kazuya gradually gains clarity when he realizes the difference. Yeah, we already read this. But the chapter doesn't let that clarity remain theoretical. Minnie's arrival immediately brings reality back into the narrative, interrupting Kazuya before he can stay inside his thoughts. His understanding has been reached internally, but it still has to be tested in reality by the ending there. Chapter suggests that true clarity isn't proven by reflection alone. It must ultimately face reality. Okay, I like that last part. The chapter suggests that true clarity isn't proven by reflection alone and it must ultimately face reality. Okay, that's a good. I like that conclusion. I like that. I think if you say rather than the chapter's theme being moving from certainty towards clarity through reality, I would say the chapter is about what we perceive to be reality versus what actually is reality. So what we think is real versus what is real. The composition reflects Kazuya's perspective. We only see half of his face at the exact moment he says there's not much difference between Mizuhara and Ichinose. Ironically, wow, that's a good one. We only see half his face. Oh my god, way to cook. That's a cook, bro. Respect. That's a cook, bro. That's a cook. So I'm going to read this again for you guys. He's talking about this picture. The composition reflects Kazuya's perspective. We only see half of his face at the exact moment he says there's not much difference between Mizuhara and Ichinose. You're literally only seeing half of his face. Actually, really impressive cook. That's actually a really good cook. Straight up, good job, bro. You cook there. You straight up cook there. Good job, bro. Ironically, while he's beginning to unify the two identities, the framing suggests his understanding is still incomplete. He is no longer splitting Chizuru into two different people, but he still isn't seeing her whole. Spicy. Spicy. Getting a little steamed in here. Cooked so hard, I'm getting a little hot. Whew. I'm in the goddamn kitchen. Bolivar sends something too. Could you say that the way Kazuya treats the keychains is what he really thinks about the people that give it to him? With Chizuru, he loves and cherishes it just as he feels about Chizuru herself. I disagree. He clearly doesn't care for it enough because he hands it over to Ruka like it's nothing, which reflects that Kazuya doesn't actually value the keychain as much as he claims to. He only truly values the keychain when he almost loses it. That is a perfect reflection of the call from Chizuru after Umi called. The only reason he calls Chizuru is because he felt like he could lose her. That raises the question, does Kazuya truly value Chizuru? Or does he only care when he's about to lose her? That's literally what it actually says about the keychain. There's a direct parallel. He gives Chizuru up to Ruka, and only worries when he's about to lose her. I would argue that actually perfectly reflects Kazuya's problem. He doesn't actually value Chizuru as much as he thinks. He only cares when he's actually about to lose her. And I think what that's setting up for is Kazuya needs to really lose something to start cherishing things. It's not enough for him to be afraid of losing something. He must truly lose something in order to truly cherish what he actually has. I think that's the setup. If anything, I think Life is Strange is a great example of this. The story forces you to sacrifice something. You can't have it both ways. That's not the real world. In the real world, you have to make choices and you have to sacrifice something for something else. And the story challenges you that up until the very end, up till the very final choice. That is what it means to be an adult and grow up. You have to make a choice, and you have to live with it and be okay with it. And I don't think Kazuya is. I've said this from the beginning. I think Kazuya is too scared to make real choices. He's too scared to give up things. And eventually he's going to have to. He's going to have to he's going to lose something, and he's going to have to be okay with losing something. He might not even have a choice. He might have to lose something and he doesn't get a choice. And I think there's real setup for that Kazuya could lose something and not get a choice in the matter. And that is what's going to hurt the most. That in not taking action and not being willing to give up something, you end up losing more instead. Ruka's he simply couldn't care less and is more bothersome than a thorn to his side, just like Ruka. More like it's not even a thorn to his side, it's just gone. Have you seen Ruka's at all? Since the moment she gave it to him, he just kind of fucking tossed it to the wayside. It just disappeared. Like Ruka's keychain, have you seen it since the chapter it was given to him? We never saw it again. It's just gone. If you forgot about it, I wouldn't blame you. And I think thematically that makes perfect sense. I think you should forget about it. I think Reiji wants you to forget about it because you forgot about Ruka. With Mami, he's confused and somewhat indifferent, just like how he doesn't know what to think about Mami. It's an unforeseen, well, what do I think of them thought. Yeah. With Mami's, we've yet to really see the real meaning. Ruka seems to be the light in the chapter, and Mami seems but Kazuya's light tainted by Minnie. Could be. The more we talk about how Chizuru could think he sees her, but he kind of doesn't, it sounds like Chizuru is giving Kazuya too much credit. Like she does in fact need to get somewhat testy for Kazuya to actually see her. Less testy and more awareness. Because the reality is she doesn't see Kazuya either. Less testy and more tests don't work. Tests in relationship are not a good idea. Rather, you can do like little tests. Like there's some things you can test. But in terms of them, they need more awareness. She needs to recognize she doesn't know him very well either. And he needs to recognize he doesn't know her very well either. Like they both kind of don't really know each other very well. They think they do. And I think a great example of this is when Kazuya leaves and Chizuru just expects him to come back. She clearly didn't know him as well as she thought. He didn't fucking come back. Right? If it was Katsuhito, maybe he would have come back, but Kazuya isn't Katsuhito. He didn't come back. I think that's what Reiji's kind of hinting at, that these characters don't actually know each other as well as they think. And you, as the reader, don't know Chizuru as well as you think you do. Because you clearly did not see the rejection coming. I think what Reiji is doing is reflecting to us the test of relationships and how a lot of us don't actually know our partners. Not really. We don't know who we're interacting with. We don't really understand them. A lot of us don't actually know each other. I don't think people actually know Ruka. I don't think people actually know Mami. Clearly not. Like, Ruka especially. I think people are very, like, there's a lot of people, there's two sides of the equation, too. I think two sides of the equation for Ruka. There's people blinded by her sins and her horrid, like, actions, and there's people blinded by her cuteness. That they can't see her for her. And I think that applies to every character. In reality, both of those are sides to these characters and hint at a greater whole. So unintentionally, he is trapping Chizuru. Even Chizuru said that talk with Minnie. Yeah, no, we've talked about this. Kazuya is trapping Chizuru. She literally feels like she doesn't know what to do. He is, without realizing it, the villain. Remember, too, though, that Chizuru has been hiding a lot of herself, too, so it goes both ways. Yes, I've been saying they don't know each other very well, and Kazuya is hiding himself, too. Yes, we fixate a lot on how Chizuru is hiding herself, yet we often ignore how Kazuya is hiding himself too. They want the other person to know them, but they're refusing to really show themselves. And Kazuya hasn't just hid himself, he's transformed into someone completely different. He's literally undergoing a villain arc. He's becoming a completely different person. He's lost his identity. He's literally becoming a villain. This is like the stereotypical villain arc, where something negative happens in their life and they think they gotta change a particular way. Only for them to like become the thing they didn't like. Kazuya forcing his way through and Chizuru needing to learn to trust him with her darkness. I think Kazuya forcing his way through is the problem. Rather, he needs to make a decision. Kazuya must make an active decision in the relationship if he really wants to change things. And Chizuru has to also take autonomy of her fear and start letting Kazuya see her. Because even though Kazuya lived in Chizuru's house, interacted with her, and saw a lot of her different sides, I would argue he still doesn't fully know her. The literal living together arc is an illusion. The literal living together arc is an illusion. Despite everything, they still don't fully know each other. And it's not Kazuya forcing himself through is not the solution. Kazuya rather needs to make a decision. He needs to challenge Chizuru. In that same way, I would argue Chizuru needs to challenge him. Their passivity is the problem. They don't know each other and they hide each other. And they're both, in my opinion, ironically, I would say Kazuya is more afraid to make a decision than Chizuru, but Chizuru is also afraid to make a decision. Well, recently I've been thinking the reason why he is who he is now is because Chizuru unintentionally groomed him. I don't know if I vibe with that reading. Because you could say the same thing to Chizuru about Kazuya. He started off as a person who could force his way through. See, you know why I would say this is wrong? The movie arc. Kazuya was even more forceful than he had ever been in the entire movie arc. You're falling into this trap again. It was Hawaiians. It was Hawaiians. Okay? Hawaiians conditioned Kazuya. That's not grooming. Kazuya was conditioned by Hawaiians to become this. That's different from grooming. It wasn't intentional. Nor was it purely Chizuru. It was a large part of it was Mami. A large part of it is Ruka. A large part of it is Kazuya's family. So I genuinely cannot agree to the idea that Chizuru unintentionally groomed him. Because I would argue Kazuya's family and friends and Ruka and Mami had much more of an influence. Heck, I would argue Minnie has even more of an influence. Rather, I would argue what Chizuru did is like the Chekhov's gun. That's what Chizuru is. Chizuru is merely the image that proves that theory correct. That's what Chizuru is, I would argue. Chizuru is merely the image that proves that theory correct. I think Kazuya has that attribute too. Kazuya is merely the piece that makes everything look and fit a certain picture. So, for instance, Minnie saying that Chizuru doesn't trust men. Kazuya, on surface, fits that picture and facilitates Chizuru's distrust of men theory. In that same way, Kazuya becoming who he is now, Chizuru merely fits that picture of just, oh yeah, Chizuru groomed him into this. But then you look deeper, and you're like, wait, Minnie's the one constantly telling him to do certain things. Ruka constantly wants him to act a certain way. Mommy clearly wants something from him. Grandma Nagomi, Kibe, Curry, everyone around him is literally telling him to be a certain someone. But Chizuru doesn't do that. All Chizuru does is tell me what you're thinking. Or how do you feel about this? I would argue everyone else groomed Kazuya, and Chizuru is literally the person to suffer for all their sins. Which fits perfectly because that's literally the whole point of Hawaiians. Hawaiians is thematically the idea that Chizuru died for everyone's sins. She was literally crucified. The reference to the church, the thorns, the opening in the anime where she's literally like in a castle of thorns. Chizuru quite literally died for everyone's sins. Chizuru did not condition him. Rather, everything she did merely fit that picture. Chizuru rejecting him. Chizuru not being upfront. Chizuru hiding aspects of herself. Chizuru confused about her feelings. All of that fits the narrative that Chizuru groomed him. That Chizuru conditioned Kazuya. That Chizuru is playing Kazuya. Every single aspect of that fits that narrative perfectly. It mirrors Umi. A lot of Umi's character fits the narrative a lot of people have about him, right? Everything about Umi's character fits the narrative. Like, there's pieces of him that absolutely fit the narrative that people have about him, right? Umi is manipulative. Umi is controlling. Umi is a piece of shit who just wants all the women around his finger. Umi is a sly fox. List goes on and on and on. Ruka perfectly captures that. I think Chizuru is literally that. Chizuru is the label. Chizuru is the scapegoat for everyone's problems. She must be the source. It cannot be us. And Hawaiians absolutely proves that to me. Because of how everyone acts and everyone wants to direct their anger at someone. The constant references to Hawaiians. The fact that Chizuru works a job that's pretty much synonymous with sex work. And the way sex workers are treated today. Not just socially, but online. Like, Jesus Christ, go online and see how people treat sex workers. Just for working a job. I think that captures it perfectly. Now, this isn't to say that Chizuru has done nothing wrong. It's just every action she does proves a bias people already believe. And no matter what she does, she cannot escape that. But what Reiji's also saying is, eventually, you must take autonomy over yourself and your choices. You must take control back. You cannot let other people define you and how you want to be seen and understood. You cannot define who you are. That applies to both Kazuya and Chizuru. I genuinely believe this. I think Minnie is the poster child for this. Minnie is literally, as Reiji said, the voice of the readers. She isn't literally the readers, but she does what the readers do, and thus she echoes their voice. Okay? Minnie echoing the audience perfectly captures the problem with Minnie's presence and what she does and what she says to the characters. She defines to them who they are. And because of that, they're trapped. I think this is very important because a lot of people online, especially when you see people in the West, or even just people in Japan too, talking about Rent-A-Girlfriend, it's very much like they're spinning an image, they're spinning a narrative. This character did this. Chizuru is clearly a gold digger manipulating Kazuya. Kazuya is clearly a simp and he's a pathetic loser. And those images are trapping the characters. I just think the framing takes all the agency away from Chizuru, but doesn't really appreciate her contribution. I think Hawaii is how you're saying, but I'm also talking about everything leading up to that. I don't get that. I still don't. I really don't. Everything leading up to Hawaiians, if anything, Kazuya got stronger. Kazuya, in my opinion, was like at his peak in the movie arc. I just don't agree with that. Kazuya, like, fucking flew, dude. I just don't see that. At his peak delusion? No. He was right. No, I don't read it the same way. Chizuru genuinely empowered him. He genuinely felt like a stronger person because of her. She genuinely empowered him. His delusion began after the cheer update. That's when his delusion began. Peak delusion, and the photo in this chapter proves it? No. If anything, I think what he had is back then is real. He churned it into a delusion. No, I think what he had until that point was real. That doesn't prove anything. I don't think so. Was he in the dark about some things? Absolutely. No, I don't think it was a delusion. I don't think so. There was something very real there. I don't think it was a delusion. No. I just very adamantly disagree with that. I don't think it was a delusion. Now, did we know the full Chizuru back then? Doubt it. Okay, man. Like, the wave is literally just going to be that Kazuya didn't know Chizuru. And she's a very different person. And we're probably going to see that through the play. But I don't think she's as different as we think she is either. Like, no, Kazuya's going to believe it was all a delusion. Like, if that's what your theory is, that's what the wave is, Kazuya's going to believe all of this was a delusion, yeah, okay, I'm down with that. I agree with that Kazuya is going to believe it's all a delusion, that you, as the reader, might believe it's all a delusion. I don't agree with that for a fucking second. I don't agree with that for a fucking second. They shared a real experience. I genuinely believe that. They shared a real experience. It was not all a delusion. I disagree. After, like, the build-up to Hawaiians, and Hawaiians itself, is where shit hit the fan. That's where, like, we went full delusion mode. That's when the delusion really began. No, it's something real from a fake experience. That's not a delusion. It's something real from a fake experience. There's a difference between something being fake and something being a delusion. There's something very different between something being a delusion and something being fake. I don't agree with that for a fucking second. No, this was not all a delusion. Some of it was fake. Something real from something fake. Yes. Something real from a delusion? I don't know if I fight with that. No, there was definitely something real here. And yes, it was built from something fake. But that doesn't mean it was a delusion. There's a difference. There might be a specific reason why Chizuru wanted to be in that play with that specific director that we were already told. If you go back to Chizuru's first play that we saw in the story, the director she was trying to get into, she was trying to get the good graces of and get into his play was that same exact director. That's why it was this. We're literally going back in time and changing things. Chizuru got the role she never got in the beginning of the series. It's the same exact director, same name, same everything. That's why. No, it's literally the same fucking director. We're literally going back in time and changing things. And if she succeeds in this play, she can quit rental. That's what it's building up to. She succeeds in this play, she can quit rental. That's what she thinks. But that's not how you quit rental. The problem is she thinks she's stuck in rental. She's not. She can change that. No. I do not believe this was all delusion, and I don't think I'll ever believe that. Do I think some of it was fake? Yes. Do I think some of this is fake? Yes. We experienced a lot of this through a rental service. Of course, there's going to be some fake stuff in there. Could we as the audience have deluded ourselves? Absolutely. Could some things have been Kazuya deluding himself? Probably. Was it all fake? No. I very much disagree with everything that's said here. I think Kazuya tricked himself after Hawaiians. Everyone in Hawaiians conditioned Kazuya into who he became. Chizuru helped uncondition him, but he did not escape the real problems. That was the issue. The reason Hawaiians happens as a story is because the characters did not escape their core issues. They were never addressed. This plays directly into Kazuya's character and directly into Chizuru's character. That is the whole reason Hawaiians happens. It breaks your illusion. Hawaiians breaks your illusion that you ever really confronted your real problems. And that's why it happens. There were these core issues in the characters they never addressed and never truly overcame. In particular, Kazuya and Chizuru's insecurities about themselves. So, when Hawaiians comes, and what it does is literally fuel every piece of bias you have. It shatters the characters and who they are, and everything they built falls apart. I think a lot of us may have experienced, I've experienced this for sure, where you do a lot of work, you do a lot of transformation, but you didn't address the real issues. So that work that you did feels like a big illusion. It feels like you were just deluding yourself that you changed and got better. But you did. In fact, in you transforming in the first place, it shows that you could do it. But because you didn't address the real issues, it felt like all that effort was worthless. It's literally the illusion of a delusion. It's quite literally the illusion of a delusion, where you trick yourself, your mind literally tricks itself into thinking you're deluding yourself. You're not. You could do it. You always had the tools and the skills to do it. You were just convinced you couldn't. And the moment someone confirmed that bias, you were sure you were deluding yourself. That's literally what happened to Kazuya and Chizuru. That's literally Chizuru's opening theme song in season 5. Where she literally can't tell the difference between what's real and what's fake. Right? Her two worlds are blending together. She can't tell the difference. And that's literally happening to Kazuya. He can't tell the difference. He's trapped. That's why you think it's all delusion. You're trapped in this idea that your brain has convinced you of. And I think Reiji's capturing that perfectly. The characters literally tricked themselves into thinking it was all fucking delusion. Chizuru literally said these words in the date. In the date, when she's rejecting Kazuya, she literally said this. She literally thought she was just fooling herself. That she thought she saw all this for real when she didn't. These were her words just before the rejection happens. And she doesn't realize in that moment she's literally fooling herself. That's what makes that scene so fucking clever. She sees the Statue of Liberty, a fake Statue of Liberty, a literal replica of the Statue of Liberty, a fake vision of freedom. She sees the illusion of freedom, and she says, I might have just fooled myself into thinking I've seen all this before. Not realizing she's literally fooling herself now. She thinks she's getting the real thing. She thinks all of this is real. Everything they're experiencing is a lie. The big date is an illusion. They're deluding themselves in the date. They weren't getting something real. And the irony is they were getting something real back then. That's literally the beautiful irony of everything going on in the story right now. You think you know what's real. In the story right now, you think you know what's real. In reality, all you have been getting in this time, right now, is a lie. Everything you experienced at the start, the stuff that should be fake, the stuff that felt superficial and felt like a lie, was actually the real shit. What you experienced then was real. What you're experiencing now is a lie, and you can't tell the difference. The characters right now in the story have literally deluded themselves. They think they saw all this. They think they're seeing reality. In reality, they're in an illusion. They haven't seen shit. They're all in a dream. And this is conveyed to you in a lot of different ways. Ruka is a great example. Her first number when she started the series was 79 on her little beeper. Now it's 97. It literally flipped over. It looked like this. It looks like this now. It's not the same thing. It just looks the same. The characters are trapped in a delusion. That doesn't mean what they experienced before was a delusion. In fact, I would argue that's what was real. And I think that's so thematically incredible that what you experienced through what should be a lie was actually real. And what should be real now is actually the lie. Right? What you're experiencing now, what you think now is real, is just the big fucking lie. Okay. Let me read some YouTube stuff. No, this is not the same guy from the movie arc. The director is not the same dude from the movie arc. This is the dude from when Chizuru was on. No. You're mixing it up. That's not it. God damn it, guys. Come on. Okay. Chizuru's first play. This is chapter 52. This is not the movie arc. The movie arc starts in chapter 100. This guy. This is the same dude. This is the same dude Chizuru was trying to get her to scout her. It's the same name. And he picked this girl because of some nepotism bullshit. So Chizuru didn't get the role. And when she sees Kazuya, she attributes it to her being a failure. She says, I'm not good enough, I lack talent. Not because of nepotism. Now she thinks she actually got it. Now Chizuru thinks she actually got this role. All right? Chizuru actually thinks she got this role. A cool plot twist would be, maybe she didn't earn this role for shit. Right? Maybe a cool twist would be, she didn't earn this role for shit. She got it because of some bullshit. Would be pretty fucking demoralizing. Oh, you tricked yourself. You thought you earned this. And even then, you still got it at least. That's what matters. But no, that's that guy. Do you think Kazuya can handle the mother farm drive with Chizuru next to him? See, that's the interesting part. I don't think so. I don't think so. He's gonna fucking panic. But she's stuck in the rental girlfriend job. How would she pay the bills without it? Who says she had to leave the job? See, that's the mistake. Who said she had to leave the job? Her issue is that she thinks she can't fall in love if she's doing rental. Because, like, her like, she can't differentiate between rental and real. And she's trying to find that. She thinks she's finding that. In reality, she doesn't need to quit her job to understand that. Nor does she need to, like understand. She can be in a relationship with him and not and still do rental. I understand she feels guilty and she's like giving people false hope, except they know what they're getting into. They're not dumb. Like, no, sorry, like, I have a relationship. And that's a thing, by the way. Like, I've seen videos with, like, people who do rental that have a relationship. And they just draw the line. They know how to create boundaries. That's fine. It's an act. It's an act to help you get something. Now, should Chizuru maybe strive to quit it later if she wants to? Yes. Good for her. Good for her. If she wants to quit later, that's fine. Right? If she feels that guilty about it, that's fine. But if you don't have an option, okay? If you have bills to pay, if you don't have an easy option to quit this job, then don't. Don't. Be willing to put up with this shit. That's fine. You feel guilty? That's fine. You live in fucking capitalism, dude. You need the money. That's what matters. You need the fucking money. Okay? When you can, do it. But don't jeopardize your life just because you can't quit this fucking job. Nor does the job stop you from getting into a relationship. I don't remember her mentioning that her acting job were already enough to pay her own bills, apart from the money from selling her grandparents' house. It isn't. It isn't. You literally see her like slightly before the date. I think it's like 3/17, where she's still working rental. No, she's still working it. I think she can only quit her job as a rental girlfriend if her acting career takes off. And I think that's a part of what she thinks she's doing right now. She thinks if she succeeds in this play, her acting career might take off and she could get a lot of roles. And I think that's what Chizuru's trying to do. That's why Chizuru's trying to get this play to work. She thinks if she does it, her acting career could take off and she can quit rental, which means she can be with Kazuya. But that's an illusion. But that's also important for Kazuya's error of belief, where he thinks she's not doing this for him. If Chizuru is doing that to quit rental so she can be with him, bro, he's going to look like an asshole. Right? She's doing all this for him. Bro, you're going to look like a fucking asshole. At the same time, she didn't communicate that to him. So, you know, that's another part in this. I maxed that up. I met the director, just got there. Is there such a thing as leasing a girlfriend? That sounds weird, strange, and almost misogynistic. Actually, maybe is misogynistic, and I'm hoping that's not your intent, but it just sounds really gross. What do you mean leasing your girlfriend? It's not your fucking choice. You can't lease your girlfriend. That's not your fucking choice. That's her choice. Ayo, I want to be in another relationship. Cool, good for you. Ayo, I want to work a job that's like, you know, might be weird for you. Are you okay with that? No? Yes? Well, it's still my autonomy. If I want to do it, I'll do it. But if it makes you feel uncomfortable, I won't do it. When you're dating someone, you don't get a say in their life choices. These are theirs. Now, should they consider you in their life choices, especially if you're in a relationship? Sure, probably. They should talk to you. They should care about what you think, but it is ultimately their choice, not yours. I'm assuming that wasn't your intent, but I'm saying is you can't lease your girlfriend. She's not yours. You don't own her. So you can't lease your girlfriend. That's not a thing. That's just, if anything, the reason it sounds misogynistic is because it implies you own this person. It's like what happens if the person who owns a company that gives Kazuya an internship is owned by mommy's dad. That kind of worms would be huge. I mean, the more possibility, it was not my intent. I know, but that's why I'm highlighting that to you. It's important to recognize that despite whether it was your intent or not, it can be very easy to convey that. See what I mean? That's so I'm just teaching you something. I'm not telling you you're a bad guy or anything like that. I'm merely highlighting to you the error of your words and what that could imply. That's all. I think there's more likelihood that Kazuya could end up in a place related to Chizuru. I think there's more likelihood that Kazuya could end up in a place related to Chizuru. My point isn't about the potential relationship with Kazuya, it's about her acting career, which is her dream. Well, no. That's not her dream. What was Chizuru's dream? Chizuru's dream is not acting. Chizuru's dream was to show her grandparents a movie on the big screen. She would succeed for them. That dream is partially dead now. Her grandparents are dead. So what the fuck does she want? Now, she loves acting. Yes. I will give you that. Yes, Chizuru loves acting. What the fuck does she want? Does she want Kazuya to see her on the big screen? Okay. But her dream is not to succeed in acting. That's a common misinterpretation. That is not Chizuru's dream. If that was Chizuru's dream, it would be a lot simpler. No, if that was Chizuru's dream, it would be a lot simpler. Chizuru's dream is not her acting career. Not really, no. Chizuru's dream, we don't know. She even tells Umi, I don't know what makes me happy. Right? It's literally in her rejection of Umi. I'm not capable of choosing a great guy or even understanding what makes me happy. I don't know what makes me happy. But isn't becoming an actress of her grandmother's caliber one of the goals she laid out? Kind of, but no. Because I'll show you. I know what you're referring to, but the scene was meant to reflect how that's an impossible dream. And I'll show you. So you're referring to is right here. Or no, wait, it's one behind. Read previous. Oh. Maybe it's 347 then. Oh, no, it's 349. It's 349. I think it's 349. Let me double check. Yep, I was right. 349. I fucking knew it. She is both my idol and my rival, someone who I will never surpass. Basically, my goal? Question mark. Her eyes are closed. Question mark. She doesn't know. Is she my goal? But you can never surpass her. So how can she be your goal? She's like an endless goal you can never really surpass. Now, yes, Chizuru wants to act. Chizuru loves acting. Chizuru goes to this movie to get a goal so she can keep acting. But you literally see her with her eyes closed here. It's because she doesn't know if she really is her goal. Chizuru doesn't know what she wants out of acting. And I think that's a common misunderstanding. Chizuru loves acting. But it's not about success in the acting business. Nor can you measure being on the caliber of someone like Sayuri. That is for you to decide. That is for no one else to decide. It's not like boxing where you can just get into a gym and beat the dude. Like, even if you were like the current world champ, you don't know if you're as good as like peak Mike Tyson. You don't know. It's only when you feel content. This raises the question. Is this really Chizuru's dream? What is this? Literally, like I said, Chizuru's dream was to show her grandparents her on the big screen. She not only fulfilled that in spirit, but those people are now dead. So what is her goal? We don't know. She doesn't know. She clearly doesn't know what the fuck her goal is. Maybe she has a semblance of what she wants out of a goal now, which is, again, possibly to succeed in acting so she can quit rental and be with Kazuya. Maybe that's kind of a goal she wants. I think what Chizuru really wants is family. But she also loves acting. Chizuru's goal is not to be an actress on the caliber of her grandma. Her grandma is her motivation. But she closes her eyes when she turns to Kazuya here. She doesn't recognize who is her real goal. I think what this is indicating to you is that Kazuya is her real goal, and she doesn't even know it. At least in this scene. She says, "My goal," ? As she looks at Kazuya with closed eyes. She literally doesn't see her goal. He's her new goal. She doesn't realize that. Anyways, yeah. Like, could mommy feel so bad for Kazuya failing interviews that she kind of somewhat sacrifices her sanity and pleading with her father to give Kazuya a job? I don't know how that would really sacrifice her sanity. Nor would dragging Kazuya into this be a good idea. She could try to advocate for him, but I don't know. Anywho, I think we've streamed enough for now. I'm going to check on my mom real quick, and then I might play Resident Evil after. It depends. Hopefully I can play Resident Evil, hopefully, but I'm not sure right now. I might also need to change my shirt. It's kind of hot in here, so I'm getting a little sweaty. Okay, so give me a sec, guys. I'm going to go check on my family, and then I might switch to Resident Evil. Okay, I have to go get gas, so I might end the stream here for now. I might continue later to play Resident Evil. If I don't today, I'll do it tomorrow. So yeah, it's getting a little late actually. I might need to go to bed early today. So I might actually end it for now, and I'll play Resident Evil tomorrow. I have time tomorrow, so it should be fine. But yeah, hopefully we can finish at least the Jill run. I don't know if I should play both Jill and Chris. I'd like to. I like both characters. We'll see. But yeah, so I think I'll end it here for today, probably. It's getting a little late. I gotta go get gas and stuff, and I'm gonna do a few things. So thanks for tuning in. Sorry we couldn't play Resident Evil today. I think I started a little later than expected. So we'll see. I think I'm not gonna continue today. I'll just call it for today, and I'm gonna play Resident Evil tomorrow. Yeah, I'll just play Resident Evil tomorrow. I should have some time. I'll just need to check my schedule just to see exactly when I'll play Resident Evil, but I'll play it tomorrow for sure. Yeah, I'll probably just make the I'll make the thumbnail for Wednesday, or sorry, Tuesday. Brain, thanks. And then I'll just play Resident Evil right after. And then we're just playing Resident Evil 1. So for now, we'll just play Resident Evil 1. I'm just go back to the earlier stream so remember where we were, and we'll just continue from there. And yeah, so I'll play Jill, and then I'll play Chris, and then we can start Resident Evil 2. Should I start? Actually, wait. Question: should I start Resident Evil 2 or continue with Kingdom Hearts 2? Because like we're playing, it is almost October. That's hard. Because we started Kingdom Hearts 2. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna finish whatever the fuck we were playing. Oh, I know. I got it. We're good. I already remembered. I already made a structure. Finish Resident Evil 1, with both runs, Chris and Jill. Then finish Kingdom Hearts 2, and then we're gonna continue with our Final Fantasy VII marathon. I totally forgot about that. We were supposed to marathon all the games before Final Fantasy VII Revelations comes out. I totally forgot about all that. So we got to do that. So we got to fucking do that. So yeah, we have a lot to do. So I definitely have to do that in that order. Maybe in October. Maybe, yeah, you know what I'll do? I'll finish Final Fantasy VII, the original game, and then maybe in October we can play more Resident Evil, because Halloween. Abandon everything else and become a Resident Evil 4 speedrunner. I mean, I speedran Resident Evil 2 remake specifically. I speedran that pretty well. I don't have the platinum for Resident Evil 4, even though I beat it on all the hardest difficulties, and it's because it needs that shooter thingamajig. It has what do you fucking call it? It has a lot of shit for the shooting range, and that's really hard with controller. Yeah, I've beaten a lot of the Resident Evils like on hardest difficulties, and I speedrun them. Yeah, I platinumed Resident Evil 4 remake, and that was hard as fuck on professional speedrun. Jesus Christ, I did it. Anyways, January, your life will be consumed by Tifa SF6. Jesus Christ, get me started. I got to start playing that. I think I might just start playing on controller for now until I can get myself, because I have a fight stick, but it's like a little uncomfortable. So I might get myself a new fight stick. But for now, I'll just play on controller just to get myself a little more comfortable. You platinumed RE9? Yes. I platinumed RE9. I think I platinumed RE7. I platinumed RE8. Platinumed RE2 remake. I platinumed RE3 remake. I platinumed RE4 remake. I definitely did. I don't think there's a platinum for the original Resident Evil 2 and 1 and 3. I think 1 original I probably like platinumed, quote unquote, because I did all the runs. Oh, I platinumed RE1 remake. Yeah, I platinumed RE1 remake too. I don't know if it counts, but I platinumed all the Kingdom Hearts games that were playable, but it doesn't transfer over to PS4, so it doesn't transfer over to PS5. It doesn't matter, I guess. Okay. I'm gonna call it. I gotta head out. See you guys later. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in. I'll stream tomorrow. I'll just let you know through